I collect attributes in the apocalypse. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151 There is a reward. Old Wang, how is the material search going? Lin Fan came to Old Wang, glanced at him, and asked with a faint smile. Old Wang called Lin Fan and walked to the side. After making sure that no one around could hear their conversation, he said, I am very surprised. Surprising? Lin Fan's eyes flashed with curiosity. Yes, Old Wang's tone was filled with unconcealed joy, and he said, in this copper factory, I didn't expect that I could find that special material. It's called thunder nickel steel. Have you heard of it before? Thunder nickel steel, Lin Fan muttered, shook his head and said, I really haven't heard of it. Lin Fan didn't know much about this knowledge. After all, in his previous life, he didn't come into contact with people who forged weapons. Seeing Lin Fan shaking his head, Old Wang was not surprised, because there were very few people who knew about this special material. The reason why the halberd I forged for you this time is so hard and sharp, in addition to the fact that I forged it myself, is mainly because I added a special material, Old Wang said in a deep voice. This special material is thunder nickel steel. A hint of surprise appeared in Lin Fan's eyes. He had used the halberd himself, so he naturally knew how powerful it was. I didn't expect that adding thunder nickel steel during forging would make the weapon so powerful. Lin Fan's expression condensed, and he said, Old Wang, how much thunder nickel steel was found here this time? Not much. After all, thunder nickel steel is a very special and rare material. I am surprised to find it here. Old Wang thought carefully and said slowly, according to my experience in forging weapons, if the thunder nickel steel found this time is to be used to forge a weapon like your halberd, I can probably forge about three. That's not bad, Lin Fan nodded. The quality of weapons forged with thunder nickel steel has obviously increased exponentially. Being able to forge 3 weapons means that the strength of the 3 people can be greatly improved. This is indeed very good news. Yes, at most 3 weapons can be forged, and that is under the condition of 100% success. Old Wang smiled slightly and said, forging weapons, you know, it is impossible to guarantee 100% success. There is still a chance of failure. This is not because Old Wang is deliberately modest, but there is indeed a chance of failure in forging weapons. Even if he does it himself, there is still a chance of failure. Well, regardless of the probability of failure, it is a good result to discover a special material like thunder nickel steel. Lin Fan smiled and nodded. He naturally understood that nothing can guarantee absolute success. Yes, Old Wang smiled again and said, after moving these materials back to the island, you can see which 3 people in your team can give them weapons forged with thunder nickel steel. Just tell me the type of weapons they want to forge. Thank you, Old Wang. Lin Fan thanked him. When Old Wang found the special material of thunder nickel steel, he could have kept it secret from him. He might not know about it. But Old Wang did not keep it secret. Instead, he told him the first time he saw him, and did not let anyone else know. From this small detail, it can be seen that Old Wang is not the kind of person who is cunning and knows how to repay kindness. After all, if it were not for him, the situation would be different. Old Wang. All the materials here have been sorted out. At this time, a person quickly ran over to report. Okay, I know, Old Wang nodded. Since the materials have been sorted out, let's start loading them now, and go directly to the dock after loading, Lin Fan said. Old Wang naturally had no objection. There are quite a lot of materials in Donghu Copper Factory, some of which are very large, and the weight is needless to say. Therefore, the process of transporting materials to the car is not a simple matter. Even if Lin Fan and so many people acted together, it took 4 or 5 hours to get it done. This is the case when there are many evolvers in the team. If there are no evolvers in the team, it may take 1 or 2 days to move everything, not to mention 4 or 5 hours. These things are too difficult to move. Murong Shan clapped her hands and complained helplessly. It can be clearly seen that there is already a dense layer of sweat on her forehead. Lin Fan glanced at Murong Shan, smiled slightly, and said, seeing that you performed so well, I will give you a credit and give you a big reward. Ah, brother Lin Fan, what big reward are you going to give me? Murong Shan looked at Lin Fan with surprise. She didn't expect that she could get a reward for complaining casually. Murong Zhu also looked at Lin Fan curiously. She knew that Lin Fan would not say it to tease Murin Shan. Since Lin Fan said so, he would definitely arrange a reward for Murin Shan. I won't tell you now, you will know in a few days. Lin Fan kept it a little secret and didn't say it directly. When he heard Mr. Wang say that the thunder nickel steel materials could be forged into 3 weapons, 3 candidates had already emerged in his mind. The first one is undoubtedly Murinzu. Murinzu evolves very quickly, and her growth potential is beyond words. The second one is Murin Shan. Although Murin Shan's evolution speed is not as fast as Murinzu's, Murin Shan will have superpowers in the near future. Every evolver with superpowers is an extremely precious existence. It is completely reasonable to give Murin Shan a good weapon. As for the third one, he has not yet considered it. If Zhang Xianjun has been performing well and submits to him from the bottom of his heart, he may consider giving Zhang Xianjun a good weapon. In any case, Zhang Xianjun is a brave and resourceful person. Moreover, in their team now, apart from him, Zhang Xianjun should be the strongest. Giving Zhang Xianjun a good weapon will surely enhance Zhang Xianjun's strength again. Brother Lin Fan, don't keep me in suspense, tell me, okay? Seeing that Lin Fan didn't say it, Murin Shan's curiosity instantly exploded. She came to Lin Fan and stretched out her hand to pull Lin Fan's arm and shook it. A pair of beautiful eyes blinked pitifully a few times. Haha, acting cute doesn't work. Lin Fan still shook his head and said, don't worry, you'll know in a few days, okay? Murin Shan pouted helplessly. She didn't expect that her acting cute didn't work. Lin Fan smiled faintly, then looked at everyone and said, let's go. I'll drive in front and lead the way, and you can follow behind. Chapter 152. A few more ships. Everyone returned to the car. Lin Fan drove the RV in front, and Su Guanai and others drove behind. Many of the people led by Mr. Wang had experience driving large vehicles, so they had no problem driving. There was no need to worry about the scattered zombies on the road, either the RV or the truck, and they would run over them all the way. Of course, since the truck was loaded with heavy objects, it was not so fast. It took them several hours to drive to the dock. At this moment, there were only a few people staying at the dock. These people were arranged by Zhang Xianjun to guard, and they were also the group that followed Su Qingcan before. They were shocked to see so many cars coming. However, when they saw the RV in front clearly, they breathed a sigh of relief. It's Brother Lin Fan's car, a 19-year-old young man said. The 3 of them went out, but they brought back so many trucks. Are they all full of materials? We'll know soon, said another person. While the 2 of them were talking, the RV had already driven over with the cars opened, and soon stopped by the roadside. Lin Fan and the others walked out of the RV. Boss, the men hurriedly greeted Lin Fan. Lin Fan nodded and said, our brother Zhang and his men on the island. Yes, boss. The young man stepped forward and said, an hour ago, Brother Zhang and his men just loaded up the supplies and transported them to the island. They will be back from there in a while. Lin Fan was not surprised by this answer. He looked slightly fixed and said, do you know how much food has been transported from the warehouse? We don't know the exact amount, but Brother Zhang said that it will take another day to transport it all. As the young man spoke, he looked at the cargo box of the truck and asked curiously, boss, are these all loaded with materials? Yes, all of them are materials, Lin Fan said. So many, the young men were all stunned. They didn't expect that Lin Fan and his men really found so many materials this time. Seeing the expressions of the young men, Lin Fan shook his head and smiled, saying, this time we have gained a lot, let's continue to wait here. Zhang Xianjun and the other 2 are the only ones who can drive a ship, so we have to wait until they arrive before we can get the materials on the ship. Old Wang walked to Lin Fan and said, are the other ships broken? Some are good, some are broken, but there are only 3 people here who can drive a ship, and even if there are ships, they can't operate them at all, Lin Fan explained. That's not a problem. Among the people who followed me to Forge, several of them can drive a ship. They have been working at sea before the doomsday, and they are familiar with driving a ship, Old Wang said. Hearing this, Lin Fan's face showed a hint of joy, and he said, Old Wang, then you should quickly ask them to check the surrounding ships. This area is very safe. If the ships here cannot be used, we can go to other places to find ships that can be used. As long as they can drive the ship, it's easy. With more ships for transportation, our efficiency can be higher. Otherwise, we have to transport these materials many times. At this point, Lin Fan briefly told Old Wang about the rice in the warehouse that they were still transporting. So much rice? Hearing Lin Fan mention the amount of rice, Old Wang's old face showed a hint of surprise. No wonder you said that you can take the materials in my villa or not. It turns out that you have such sufficient materials here, haha. It's not that you can take it or not, but the current situation does not allow us to take so many materials. We can only give them to Hujayaki and others at a discount. Lin Fan smiled lightly. Old Wang nodded and said, then I will ask them to find a ship that can be used. After finding it, we can transfer the materials to the ship. Okay, Lin Fan replied. Old Wang was very efficient, and since those people were all his followers, they were quickly summoned. Although there were not many ships around the dock, there were still a few ships available after they were found. Okay, everyone start moving the materials to those ships, emptying them one by one, said Old Wang. Yes, everyone started to move. Before long, several ships were filled with materials. Since these forging materials are relatively hard, they are not as easy to place as rice, which is packed in bags. Therefore, those ships are just enough to carry the materials in a large truck. We still have to transport them many times. Old Wang took a look at these large trucks, which can only carry one truck of materials at a time, which means that they have to be loaded at least 10 times. Maybe they can be transported together with the rice in the warehouse, Lin Fan said. Will Hujayaki's people find this place during this period? Old Wang's eyebrows revealed a trace of worry. They won't come so soon. Lin Fan's eyes flashed, and he said with a smile, besides, at this time, even if they come, with our strength, we don't have to worry about anything. Old Wang was stunned, and then he reacted and said, look at my memory, I forgot that you said there are so many guns and elixirs here. Since they are not familiar with the route from the dock to the island, even if they have already filled several ships with materials, they must wait for Zhang Xianjun and others to return to the dock. If you get lost at sea, it's not a joke. After all, sometimes when you go to some unfamiliar waters and encounter waves, it is very likely to cause a capsize. A few hours later, Lin Fan and others saw 3 ships coming from a distance. These 3 ships, no need to guess, all know that they are Zhang Xianjun and others. As soon as the ship docked, Zhang Xianjun and others got off the ship and greeted Lin Fan. I didn't expect you to find so many materials this time. It's really surprising, Zhang Xianjun said with emotion. Lin Fan smiled slightly, then looked at Old Man Wang and said, Brother Zhang, come here, let me introduce someone to you. Lin Fan walked to Old Man Wang with Zhang Xianjun and introduced him with a smile. This is Old Man Wang, he is very good at forging weapons. Hello, Old Man Wang. My name is Zhang Xianjun. Zhang Xianjun stretched out a hand to Old Man Wang. Hello, Old Man Wang stretched out his hand and shook hands with Zhang Xianjun. At this time, Lin Fan took out his halberd from the RV, handed it to Zhang Xianjun, and said, this halberd is the weapon that Old Man Wang forged for me. Brother Zhang, what do you think? The moment Zhang Xianjun saw the halberd, he seemed to feel a sharp breath. He took the halberd, held it and waved it, saying, what a powerful weapon. He could clearly feel that this halberd was very powerful. Chapter 153 Watchtower. Now, Zhang Xianjun had a clearer understanding of Old Man Wang. Just now, he was still thinking that in the doomsday, close-range weapons should not be very useful, as long as they can blow up the zombies' heads. But now, after personally experiencing the power of Lin Fan's halberd, he realized how wrong his previous thoughts were. Such a weapon can improve one's own strength by more than a little bit. Seeing the change in the expression on Zhang Xianjun's face, Lin Fan smiled slightly in his heart. He calculated that Zhang Xianjun would have such an unexpected change, so he took out the halberd to let Zhang Xianjun experience it. Only in this way, Zhang Xianjun will know the power of Old Man Wang and will not neglect Old Man Wang. Old Man Wang, your level of weapon forging is really amazing, I have to admire it. Zhang Xianjun continued to wave the halberd in his hand twice, and then handed it back to Lin Fan, looking at Old Man Wang inside. In response to Zhang Xianjun's praise, Old Wang smiled, I have been forging these things for so many years. They are not very useful before the doomsday. I didn't expect that they would be more useful when the doomsday breaks out. Yes, there are strict controls on these things before the doomsday. Only in the doomsday environment can these things be more useful. Zhang Xianjun nodded. Brother Zhang, after moving all these things back to the island, let Old Wang forge a weapon for you. Having a weapon that suits you is still very effective, Lin Fan said. Okay, Zhang Xianjun was naturally very happy. Then continue to move them now, and we will talk about everything after the move is completed, Lin Fan arranged. Regardless of whether Old Wang should use special materials such as thunder nickel steel to forge weapons for Zhang Xianjun at that time, it is necessary to at least forge a normal weapon for Zhang Xianjun. After all, Zhang Xianjun's efforts and performance during this period are considerable. Okay, I will take them to load the supplies now, and return to the island together after the loading is completed, Zhang Xianjun nodded. After the voice fell, Zhang Xianjun did not delay and turned around to lead everyone to the warehouse. They had done so many times and were very experienced. It didn't take long for them to load the materials and return to the dock. Then, they moved all the materials from the truck to the 3 ships. Lin Fan, you want to go back to the island with me? Zhang Xianjun asked. Well, I'll go back and find a good area on the island for Mr. Wang and the others, Lin Fan said. Okay, let's go, Zhang Xianjun said, just let them follow our ship. Lin Fan still asked the few people who stayed at the dock to stay on guard. Moreover, after so many materials were left here, Lin Fan arranged for a few more people to stay. These materials cannot be taken away by others. After arranging everything, Lin Fan and others returned to the ship and began to return to the island. Wang Jianwei and Jiang Yuanzhang and others stayed on the island to do what they should do. At this time, Wang Jianwei and Jiang Yuanzhang just finished their work and rested at the beach. You kid, are you completely in love with Ding Ruaya? Jiang Yuanzhang glanced at Ding Ruaya who was gathered with the others in the distance, then retracted his gaze to look at Wang Jianwei, and asked with a smile. Yes, they are completely together. Wang Jianwei smiled so hard that he could hardly close his mouth. He said, anyway, in a doomsday living environment, I think it's still good to have a girlfriend to accompany you, of course. Jiang Yuanzhang nodded. He was also a bachelor, so he also wanted to have a girlfriend. However, the other girls in the team didn't seem to have much to do with him and it was impossible for them to have feelings for him. By the way, Brother Jiang, you said that Lin Fan and the others have been gone for so many days, and there is no news at all. They are not going out of the city, right? Wang Jianwei changed the subject. Out of the city, Jiang Yuanzhang shook his head and said, probably not. If they were going to leave the city, they would definitely come back to inform us, but it's been several days, Wang Jianwei said. It's possible that the materials for producing bullets are really hard to find, which is why they have been looking for so long. Moreover, you have to know that we are not the only ones in this city. There are other people as well, Jiang Yuanzhang analyzed, perhaps some places with materials are occupied by others. They want to understand the specific situation of the other party, so it will naturally take a lot of time. That's true, Wang Jianwei nodded in agreement, and then he looked at the sea, with a flash of surprise, and said, Brother Zhang and his men are back. As soon as he finished speaking, he added, no. There are more than 3 ships, and there are several more behind. Could it be that someone else has discovered this island? Jiang Yuanzhang also looked over, but due to the distance, they could only see 7 or 8 ships approaching the island, and could not see the specific situation clearly. Go get a telescope and observe. Jiang Yuanzhang immediately made a decision. If someone else really came to this island, they would have to take some protective measures. The two of them took action and ran to the place where the other party had some supplies. Each of them picked up a telescope and observed carefully. The first 3 boats were driven by Brother Zhang and his team. The 5 boats behind are the new ones. Wang Jianwei recognized the boat driven by Zhang Xianjun and his team, which made him even more confused. He asked, could it be that Brother Zhang and his team found someone who can drive a boat outside and brought them back together? This possibility cannot be ruled out, Jiang Yuanzhang nodded. After confirming that Zhang Xianjun and his team were there, they naturally did not blow the security alarm, but watched the boats approaching at the seaside. 10 minutes later, the 8 boats finally docked at the shore. Wang Jianwei and Jiang Yuanzhang walked forward and were about to ask Zhang Xianjun what was going on when they saw Lin Fan and his team coming out of the boat behind. Damn! Xiafan! It's you? Wang Jianwei's eyes widened in surprise. Jiang Yuanzhang was also very surprised. He did not expect that the 5 boats behind would be brought back by Lin Fan. Don't you welcome us back? Lin Fan smiled. Haha, Brother Jiang and I just thought someone else had discovered this island, and we were about to get our guns to warn them, but fortunately we saw through the telescope that it was Brother Zhang and his boat leading the way, Wang Jianwei said quickly. You are quite alert, Lin Fan praised, thought for a moment, and said, "But you reminded me of a problem." "What problem?" Wang Jianwei was slightly startled. What he said just now seemed normal, right? Watchtower. Lin Fan's eyes swept across the island and said, "We need to set up watchtowers around this island so that we can determine at the first time whether there are other people approaching the island. Otherwise, if we don't realize it until someone really approaches, the situation may become very troublesome." Chapter 154, Choosing a Place. Yes. With a watchtower, the people we arrange on it can always pay attention to the surrounding situation. Wang Jianwei said that it made sense. Zhang Xianjun, Zhang Yuanzhang and others also nodded in agreement. Well, although the location of this island should be considered a very safe place, it is always right to take precautions before it happens. Take all kinds of protective measures so that you will not be at a loss when you really encounter a situation, Lin Fan said. Then, Lin Fan introduced Old Wang to Wang Jianwei and Zhang Yuanzhang. After listening to him, the two also admired Old Wang very much. They didn't expect that the weapons forged by Old Wang could be so powerful. For them who have not yet become evolvers, the importance of having a good weapon is self-evident. Now everyone, arrange the things that have been transported back first, and discuss any situation later, Lin Fan ordered. Before Lin Fan was not there, these orders were issued by Zhang Xianjun. Now that Lin Fan has returned from outside, the responsibility naturally falls back on Lin Fan. Zhang Xianjun also understands this very well. After getting the rice and materials off the boat, Wang Jianwei and others began to move these things back to the base. Both rice and materials are very important resources. These things must be locked in the base to be safest. How many times do we have to move the things over there? Wang Jianwei walked to Lin Fan and asked curiously. If you ask me this, I can't give you a specific answer. Anyway, we can definitely move them within 2 days, Lin Fan smiled faintly. Within 2 days? That's pretty fast, Wang Jianwei nodded. Lin Fan reached out and patted Wang Jianwei on the shoulder, saying, "By the way, how are you and Ding Ruai progressing?" "No problem at all." Wang Jianwei stretched out his hand and made an okay gesture. "You are pretty good, it's only been a few days and there is no problem at all." "It seems that you are progressing pretty fast," Lin Fan smiled. Not bad, Wang Jianwei smiled, then glanced at Murengzhu secretly and said, "Zio Fan, by the way, how are you two?" "Are you talking about me and Murengzhu?" Lin Fan asked. "Then who else can we talk about you and?" Wang Jianwei said helplessly. "In the eyes of all of us, you two are a recognized couple. Is it so obvious?" "Obviously," Wang Jianwei nodded seriously. Lin Fan laughed and said, "Actually, she and I have a very normal relationship now. Now the base has not yet developed steadily, and there is really no time to think about other things. Let's talk about it later." Wang Jianwei sighed slightly and said, "I thought you two had already fallen in love this time. However, you are the leader of our team. It's not good for you to immerse yourself in love every day. We still have to follow you." Wang Jianwei really admired Lin Fan. In such a short time, he was able to develop the team to this point. This is not only done with strength, but also requires personal charm and strategy. What's more, when Lin Fan went out to find materials this time, he was able to find a forging talent like Old Wang to bring back. From a certain perspective, this can show that Lin Fan is a man with great luck. "Okay, stop flattering me," Lin Fan punched Wang Jianwei. "Fuck. Be gentle. You hit me with such force that you almost broke my bones." Wang Jianwei pretended to be in pain. The two seemed to have returned to their college days. After a while, Zhang Xianjun and others gathered together again. "Brother Zhang, leave those things to you. I won't go with you," Lin Fan said. "Don't worry, we will bring everything back safely," Zhang Xianjun smiled. "Well, be careful," Lin Fan reminded. Zhang Xianjun nodded, and without wasting any more time, he turned around and led people on the boat and returned to the dock. The few people around Mr. Wang who could drive the boat naturally followed. After all, the most urgent task was to transport the materials back from the dock first. Only when the materials were transported back could Mr. Wang continue to forge weapons. After Zhang Xianjun and others left, Lin Fan walked up to Mr. Wang and said, "Mr. Wang, is there anything else to do now?" "No," Mr. Wang shook his head. "Well, then I'll take you around this island and take a look at where you can open up a place." At this point, Lin Fan paused and added, "Mr. Wang, I don't mean anything else by saying this. I welcome you to live in the base together. You can do it any time you want, Lin Fan, I know your good intentions. I didn't misunderstand you. Mr. Wang nodded and said, that base is really good and very safe, but forging weapons is not that convenient inside. It's more convenient outside. The main thing is that sometimes we have to deal with garbage and the noise from forging is loud, which is likely to affect others. We will find a place outside for the time being and consider it later. Mr. Wang was telling the truth. The impact of forging weapons in all aspects is not small. If there is too much noise inside, it will indeed cause some interference to others. In particular, if Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou are disturbed too much when doing scientific research, it may cause big mistakes. Such a situation cannot be ignored. Okay, Mr. Wang, as long as you know what I mean, I'm always welcome. Lin Fan smiled and took Mr. Wang to walk around the island. The two of them walked around the island, and when they returned to the front of the base, Lin Fan smiled and asked, Mr. Wang, we've seen everything we should see. Which area do you think is more suitable? Mr. Wang took a look and said, it's more difficult to open up other places. I think it would be more appropriate to open up this area on the left side of the base. First, it will be opened up faster, so that forging weapons can start faster. Second, it's close to the base, so it will be much more convenient when we need each other. Hearing this, Lin Fan nodded and said, indeed, after all, the forging materials are now in the base. If it's too far away, it will take a lot of time to get the forging materials. This area on the left side of the base is good. Then when should I start? Mr. Wang asked. It's better to wait until they have moved all the things before starting. In this way, we can have more manpower. We can't do it very quickly with just a few of us, Lin Fan said. Yes, sure, Old Man Wang nodded again. It would take no more than 2 days to move all the things there. Moreover, it wouldn't take too long to build a temporary forging site with so many people. Chapter 155 Good Advice. After choosing the place, Lin Fan and Old Man Wang did not waste time outside and walked into the base. After coming back from outside, Lin Fan had not met Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou yet, so he naturally had to introduce Old Man Wang to them. At this time, Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou were researching a project in a room. Seeing Lin Fan appear outside the window, Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou stopped their research and walked out of the door together. Lin Fan, Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou smiled and greeted Lin Fan. Professor Mu, Professor Zhou, let me introduce you. While speaking, Lin Fan looked at Old Man Wang beside him and said, this is Old Man Wang. Old Man Wang has a deep attainment in forging weapons. Hello, professors. Before coming here, I have heard Lin Fan talk about you too many times. I really admire you, Old Man Wang said politely. Old Man Wang's words were not meant to compliment Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou, but he really admired people who were engaged in scientific research. This admiration has existed since before the outbreak of the Doomsday. Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou naturally wouldn't put on airs. When Wang Jianwei and others were carrying the materials in, they had already told them some information about Old Man Wang. They also knew that Old Man Wang was a man with a very strong forging level. The three of them got to know each other, and Lin Fan asked, Professor Mu, Professor Zhou, have you seen the materials? Yes, these materials are very good, and there is no problem in producing bullets, Mu Guxian replied. Then how many bullets can be produced with these materials? Lin Fan was a little curious. At least 500,000 bullets can be produced, Mu Guxian said. 500,000 bullets, Lin Fan's eyes flashed with a smile, and he said, then it can be used for a long time. Yes, Professor Zhou nodded and said, these few days, we also taught them how to use those production machines, and they have mastered them. Well, with them in charge of production, you can do better in scientific research. Lin Fan recognized the actions of Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou. These two people are big names in scientific research. If they only focus on bullet production every day, it would be a waste of talent. They must be allowed to focus more on scientific research. After all, technology and evolution do not conflict with each other, and can even complement each other. Professor Zhou said, yes, these materials are enough to produce bullets for a long time. They can master the machine. Professor Mu and I can devote ourselves to the current scientific research project. After these materials are used up, we will go out to search, Lin Fan said. By the way, Lin Fan, I have an idea. I wonder if it is feasible, Old Man Wang suddenly said. Old Man Wang, what idea? Tell me. Lin Fan looked at Old Man Wang. Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou also locked their eyes on Old Man Wang. Old Man Wang said with a serious expression, the materials for forging weapons and producing bullets can all be found in the Donghu copper factory. Although we can go out and look for them again after we run out of materials, during this period, it is very likely that other people will also need these materials. Once there is no follow-up production to keep up, the remaining materials in the world will sooner or later be used up, and then we will face a situation where there are no materials available. So, I was thinking, can we move the machines that produce various materials from the Donghu copper factory to this island at that time? This island is very large, and there will definitely be no problem placing those machines. In terms of manpower, once your people in Jiangnan City come over, there will be no need to worry about lack of manpower. In this way, we can rely on ourselves to continuously produce materials, and we will never have to worry about insufficient materials. Old Man Wang spoke out his thoughts in one breath. Hearing this, Lin Fan nodded and said, Mr. Wang, your suggestion is very good. We have enough manpower and can take all of this into consideration. Well, only when the fundamental problem is solved, we don't have to worry about the subsequent materials not being able to keep up with the use. Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou also nodded to show that they had no objection. The area of this island is so large that it would not be a problem to build 10 factories, let alone one. Let's finalize this matter for the time being. When I bring the people from the survivor base in Jiangnan City over, we will start to work on it, Lin Fan said. The four of them continued to chat for a while, and soon it was time for dinner. During the dinner, they perfected some plans again. In any case, Mu Guxian, Professor Zhou and Mr. Wang, these three people have lived to such an old age and have unique views on many things. Many of their suggestions can still play a good role. In the following time, Zhang Xianjun still took people to the dock to transport rice and materials every day. After the rice and materials were transported, they began to devote themselves to the construction of Mr. Wang's territory. With dozens of people working together, the construction progress was quite fast. After all, it was not about building a villa, but just being able to forge weapons. Therefore, it only took 6 days to get everything done. Finally it's fixed, Wang Jianwei chuckled. Well, we can officially start tomorrow, Old Wang nodded with a smile. After resting for a few days, he missed the feeling of forging weapons. You know, in the past few years, he basically devoted himself to forging every day, and he had never rested for several consecutive days like this. Old Wang, come here, I have something to tell you. Lin Fan walked in front of Old Wang. Old Wang understood, and without asking more questions, he followed Lin Fan to the other side. Lin Fan, what's the matter? Isn't the thunder nickel steel material found before enough to forge 3 weapons? Lin Fan glanced at Murengzhu and Murengshan, and said, use them to forge 2 long swords first. Is it for the Mureng sisters? Old Wang asked. Yes, it's for the 2 sisters. Lin Fan nodded. No problem, Old Wang nodded. The thunder nickel steel material belongs to Lin Fan. It is Lin Fan's business to decide who to forge weapons for. Old Wang would not ask too many questions about these issues. Then, for other people, I will let them come to you to clarify what type of weapons they want to forge. Anyway, keep the remaining thunder nickel steel for now, Lin Fan pondered. Okay, Old Wang nodded again and said, when will you go to Jiangnan City? Wait for the bullets to be produced for a few more days. When we have 100,000 bullets, I will go and bring them over, Lin Fan said. That's true. Bringing so many people from Jiangnan City, such a long journey, we have to ensure their safety. Old Wang said. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. It's definitely them. Although Mr. Wang had never been to Jiangnan City, it didn't mean that he didn't know how far it was from there. With such a long distance and thousands of people going out, the noise would be huge. It would very likely attract groups of zombies. If you are not well prepared, it would be easy for something to go wrong along the way. Before you leave for Jiangnan City, I will quickly forge the weapons from Murengzhu and Murengshan. This will help improve their strength a little bit. Mr. Wang smiled faintly. Okay, Mr. Wang, thank you for the trouble, Lin Fan thanked him. You are too polite. Mr. Wang shook his head. After chatting with Mr. Wang for a while, Lin Fan walked towards Murenzhu and Murengshan, and Mr. Wang asked someone to bring the forged items from the base here. Starting tomorrow, weapons will be forged on this island. Brother Lin Fan, the reward you said you would give me has been a few days. Isn't it time to give it to me? Murengshan saw Lin Fan coming over and couldn't help but stretched out a white little hand and shook it. Murenzhu looked at Murengshan with both anger and amusement. This girl was thinking about the reward that Lin Fan had mentioned every day. If she hadn't seen that Lin Fan was very busy these days, she would have probably asked a long time ago. You're so anxious, you know, Lin Fan said jokingly. Yes, if I don't ask you again, have you forgotten it? Murengshan blinked. No, how could I forget it? Lin Fan smiled slightly and said, don't worry, the reward is already prepared for you, but you have to wait a few more days. Ah. You have to wait a few more days. Murengshan withdrew her hand with displeasure. Yes, you have to wait a few more days. I will definitely make you satisfied. I am embarrassed to give you a reward that you are not satisfied with, Lin Fan said with a smile. Seeing that Lin Fan was so confident, Murengshan nodded her head. Okay, brother Lin Fan, this is what you said. If you can't satisfy me, then you can prepare it again for me. Okay, I promise you, if I can't satisfy you, I will definitely prepare it again for you until you are satisfied, Lin Fan promised. That's more like it, Murengshan hummed happily. This made Murenzhu also very curious. Murengshan just went to the toilet and walked away. She looked at Lin Fan with her beautiful eyes and said, Lin Fan, what reward did you prepare for Xiao Shan? Lin Fan looked at Murenzhu and said, I not only prepared a reward for her, but also for you. I have one too. Murenzhu was slightly stunned. Of course. Lin Fan nodded. What is it? Murenzhu was happy and curious. At this point, she quickly added, tell me first. I promise not to tell Xiao Shan. Originally, Lin Fan didn't plan to reveal it first, but seeing that Murenzhu said so, it didn't seem good not to tell. After thinking for a while, Lin Fan said, the reward I'm going to give you is the weapon forged by Old Wang. The weapon forged by Old Wang. Murenzhu was slightly stunned. Didn't we already get it? That's the ordinary weapon forged by Old Wang. The one I'm going to give you this time is at the same level as my halberd, and it has been forged with special materials, Lin Fan emphasized. Old Wang has so many of those special materials. Murenzhu was shocked. Originally, there were none left, but this time he found some in the Donghu copper factory, just enough to forge 3 weapons, Lin Fan said. It turned out that it was rediscovered in the Donghu copper factory. Murenzhu suddenly understood, and then asked, you asked Old Wang to forge 2 weapons for Xiao Shan and me, so what about the other one? There's another one that I haven't decided who to give it to yet, so I didn't ask Old Wang to forge it now. I'll talk about it later, Lin Fan said. Well, but Mr. Wang is a real man. When we were cleaning up the materials, we all went outside to find a car. Even if he kept that special material privately, we didn't know it at all. After all, we didn't even know what that special material was, Murenzhu said slowly, but he didn't do that, and told you directly, it's really real, Lin Fan nodded. If Xiao Shan knew that the reward you gave her was so good, she would be very happy, Murenzhu chuckled. Don't tell her yet. It won't be too late to give it to her after Mr. Wang has forged it, Lin Fan smiled. Don't worry, I won't tell her in advance, Murenzhu also made a promise. In fact, she was also very happy in her heart. Originally, she thought that Lin Fan had prepared a reward for Murengshan, but she didn't expect Lin Fan to take her into consideration. This is equivalent to getting an unexpected surprise. On the other side, on the road of the industrial park, several cars were driving by. Brother Cheng, look at the Donghu copper factory in front, it seems that something is wrong, Wu Huoking said to Cheng Libei next to him while driving. Go in and take a look. Cheng Libei immediately gave the order. Old Wang should need these materials to forge weapons. Maybe they have been to this place. See if we can find any clues. Okay, Wu Huoking nodded, turned the steering wheel, drove in front and led several cars behind to drive into the Donghu copper factory. Since Lin Fan and others left the villa, they have not rested for a day during this period. They have been searching for the whereabouts of Lin Fan and others. But after searching for so many days, they didn't find any news. This made Cheng Libei very upset. He wanted to get rid of Lin Fan too much. If he didn't get rid of Lin Fan, he couldn't even sleep well. After stopping the car, Cheng Libei and others got out of the car one after another. The scene in front of them made them realize that the situation was unusual. So many zombie corpses, all solved by humans. Wu Huoking's eyes swept over the zombie corpses on the ground. He could clearly see that the heads of those zombies were attacked by sharp weapons, and even many zombie heads were chopped off. Cheng Libei could naturally see that these zombies were dealt with manually. He quickly retracted his gaze and walked into the factory building in front of him. Wu Huoking and others quickly followed behind. All emptied. After walking into the building, Cheng Libei and others saw that there was nothing inside. At a glance, everything was in sight. It's definitely them. Cheng Libei couldn't help but clench his fists together and judged, these things are 100% emptied by them. Only when they forge weapons will there be such a great demand. How could other people empty this place for no reason? Brother Chang, what should we do now? Wu Huoking frowned and asked hurriedly. Although he didn't hate Lin Fan so much, he also wanted to find Lin Fan as soon as possible so that he could eliminate the trouble forever. Chapter 157 Gathering Together. There are a lot of materials in this factory. They definitely can't go too far with so many materials. Let me go back and talk to Jayaki to see if we can gather all the manpower to search. Cheng Libei analyzed. If possible, we only need to expand the search with this factory as the center. It's better than searching aimlessly in such a large area of the whole city. Yes, they won't transport so many materials over long distances. I guess they just transported them to somewhere nearby. Wu Huoking nodded in agreement and said, after we find them, surround them. There's no need to talk so much nonsense with them. Just kill them with all your strength. Yes, if we find them again this time, we will definitely not give them any chance, and Jayaki will not be merciful anymore. A cold murderous intent flashed across Cheng Libei's eyes, and he said, with the strength of our team, there is no problem at all to forcibly destroy them. Cheng Libei was full of confidence in this. After all, he would never have thought that Lin Fan's team was stronger and more terrifying. Brother Chang, when will you go back and tell Sister Qi? Wu Huoking asked. Cheng Libei thought for a moment and said, let's go back now. What about us? Wu Huoking glanced at them. You guys stay here and wait for me, or wander around the factory, but don't go too far. Wait for me to come back, Cheng Libei arranged. Okay, Brother Chang, if you go back alone, be careful on the road. Wu Huoking nodded. Cheng Libei didn't say anything more, got into the car, sat in the driver's seat, started the car, stepped on the accelerator, drove away from the Donghu copper factory, and quickly returned to the villa area. After Cheng Libei left, Wu Huoking glanced at everyone and said, we will be divided into two teams, one to search the area on the left side of the factory, and the other to search the area on the right side of the factory, but they must not leave the 5-kilometer range of the factory. Once we find any clues, we will report immediately. When Cheng Libei is here, everyone has to listen to Cheng Libei, but when Cheng Libei is not here, they have to listen to Wu Huoking. Yes, Brother Wu. Upon hearing this, everyone answered in unison. Then, they quickly divided into two teams according to the number of people. Wu Huoking led a team to search the left side of the factory, and the other led a team to search the right side of the factory. Cheng Libei rushed back to the villa area as quickly as possible. After entering the villa area, he did not slow down and drove straight to the villa halfway up the mountain. He quickly parked the car in front of the villa, opened the door and got out of the car, and soon found Hu Jayaki. The two sat on the sofa. Seeing Cheng Libei's anxious look, Hu Jayaki couldn't help asking, did you find any clues? Yes, Cheng Libei nodded and said, we were in a Donghu copper factory over there in the industrial park and found that all the materials inside had been emptied, not even a little bit was left. Moreover, the factory is full of zombie corpses, all of which were solved by humans. It is definitely them who have such a large demand for materials. There is no way there could be anyone else. Hu Jayaki knew that there were many factories over there in the industrial park, but he didn't know what the factories over there produced specifically. After hearing what Cheng Libei said, she understood and said, in this case, it is basically certain that they are the ones. I didn't expect them to move so many materials. Yes, all the materials have been moved away. Cheng Libei took a deep breath and said, Jayaki, I think we must take measures. What measures? Hu Jayaki frowned slightly. Call all the people back, gather them all together, and search with Donghu Copper Factory as the center. Cheng Libei expressed his thoughts. They took so many materials. I don't think they can go far. As long as we concentrate the search and speed up the search, It won't take long before we can find them completely. If it is confirmed that they took the materials, the method you said is indeed feasible. A concentrated search with a locked target will definitely save a lot of time than what we are doing now." Fujiyaki narrowed his eyes slightly. "The question now is whether we can be 100% sure that it is them. After all, it was just our guess just now. According to the guess, it is indeed very likely that they took the materials. On these issues, Fujiyaki, as a woman, does think more delicately. She was worried that if it wasn't done by Lin Fan and the others, then if they gathered people to search, it would delay the progress of the search in other directions, which would give Lin Fan and the others more time to develop. Jiaki, I can be 100% sure that it must be that group of people. Please believe me once. If I'm wrong, I'll let you deal with it," Cheng Libei promised in an extremely solemn tone. "Okay, then when the other teams come back, gather them together, and then you will lead the team to search for Lin Fan and others at the Donghu Copper Factory," Fujiyaki reminded. "However, when you find them, you must come back to inform me first, and you must not take any action without authorization." "Of course," Cheng Libei nodded. Fujiyaki is the leader of the team. He must report to Fujiyaki on such important decisions, otherwise if he makes decisions without authorization, it will be no different from rebellion. Time passed quickly, and it was night in a blink of an eye. All the people who went out to search with Nai Yuanjia and others returned to the villa area. They originally came back to report the progress of the daily search, but they didn't expect that Cheng Libei and others had already made a major discovery. "From now on, you don't have to search the previous place anymore. All follow Cheng Libei to the Donghu Copper Factory." Fujiyaki glanced at Nai Yuanjia and others and gave an order. "Yes, Sister Qi," everyone answered in unison. Seeing this, Fujiyaki glanced at Cheng Libei, who nodded slightly and said, "Okay, everyone, have a good rest tonight. We will set off early tomorrow morning." Nai Yuanjia and others have been searching for a whole day and need to rest and adjust their state. If they rush to the Donghu Copper Factory overnight, they will not have much energy when they get there. It is better to rest well before proceeding. The next morning, Cheng Libei and others quickly gathered together, and even ate in the car, without wasting any time. After running around for several hours, the car team finally entered the Donghu Copper Factory. At this time, Wu Huiking and others were also waiting in the factory. They went out to search yesterday, and it was obvious that they did not find any results. "Brother Chang," Wu Huiking stepped forward and greeted him, saying, "We have searched the surrounding 5 kilometers. We can just start searching from 5 kilometers away." Chapter 158 Satisfactory Reward. "Okay, take a break for half an hour, eat something, and replenish your energy." Cheng Libei waved his hand and said, "In half an hour, start a carpet search 5 kilometers away from the factory." Cheng Libei was full of confidence in this search and believed that he would be able to find Lin Fan and others. After eating, he arranged the personnel as quickly as possible and led the team to search. Lin Fan and others did not know about the movements here, and even if they knew, they would not care. On the island, Lin Fan was waiting outside the forging area. Just now, Old Wang sent someone to find him and said that the 2 weapons forged from Yurengzu and Muringshan would be ready soon. Su Guanyu and Lu Xianzong were also standing here. Lu Xianzong's previous series of performances were considered to have been initially recognized by Lin Fan. "Lin Fan, when you go to Jiangnan City, we all have to follow you, right?" Lu Xianzong glanced at the gate of the forging area, then retracted his gaze and looked at Lin Fan and asked. "What?" Lin Fan asked with a smile. "If you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Anyway, we also need people to stay here." "No, I want to go with you. I haven't been to Jiangnan City before. Although I can't catch up with the prosperous time of Jiangnan City, it's okay to go and take a look now." Lu Xianzong smiled and touched his hair, saying, "It's a bit boring to stay on this island every day. Go out for a walk to avoid depression in the future." Su Guanyu glared at Lu Xianzong and said, "With your personality, if you are depressed, then should we take medicine?" "Haha, Brother Su, don't wash my hair." Lu Xianzong smiled again. While the two of them were talking, in the forging area, Old Wang led a person out. Old Wang held 2 long swords in his hand, and the person who followed him held a long axe in his hand. The 2 long swords were undoubtedly prepared from Yurengzu and Muringshan. And the long axe was Lu Xianzong's weapon. Lucky, no forging failed. Old Wang smiled and handed the 2 long swords in his hand to Lin Fan. "Old Wang, you are too modest." Lin Fan took the long sword with a smile. Just holding it like this, he could feel something special. Lu Xianzong also took his long axe in his hand, and swung it twice, saying, I like this kind of cool weapon, it suits my temperament. Why do I feel that the more vulgar one suits your temperament more? Su Guanyu said jokingly. You guys chat here, I'll take the weapons first. Lin Fan didn't delay them too much. After saying that, he turned and left. At this time, Murinzu and Murinshan were walking on the beach, and Lin Fan walked straight towards them. Hearing the footsteps behind them, the two sisters turned around and their eyes fell on Lin Fan. Brother Lin Fan, what are you doing with the two swords? Murinshan asked curiously. Murinzu did not tell her about the reward. She had been kept in the dark and did not associate the reward with weapons. This is the reward for you, Lin Fan said. Reward? Murinshan was stunned for a moment, then reacted and pouted, saying, Brother Lin Fan, you are too perfunctory. I have weapons, why did you give me weapons? I am not used to using two at the same time. Obviously, Murinshan was not satisfied with the reward given by Lin Fan. Don't say I am perfunctory, it's not too late to make a judgment after you feel it. Lin Fan smiled slightly, walked forward, and handed one of the long swords to Murinshan. Murinshan looked at it in confusion, but still reached out to take the long sword in her hand. The moment she took it, she felt the difference. Swish. Then, she waved the longsword in her small hand, but heard a slight sound of breaking through the air. This, Murinshan opened her mouth in surprise, her beautiful eyes full of disbelief, and said, Brother Lin Fan, this sword seems to be much more powerful. It's not like, it's a fact. Lin Fan smiled lightly. I asked Old Wang to forge it again, and added the same special materials as my long halberd. Both the hardness and sharpness are much stronger than before. Hearing this, Murinshan couldn't help but be more surprised. How is it? Are you still dissatisfied with the reward now? Lin Fan asked. Satisfied. Very satisfied. Murinshan nodded quickly, hugged Lin Fan with a long sword, and said with emotion, Brother Lin Fan, thank you. She really didn't expect that Lin Fan would give her such a surprise. Satisfied is fine. If you are not satisfied, I will have to prepare it for you again, Lin Fan said jokingly, and by the way, he reached out and patted Murinshan's back gently. After hugging for a long time, Murinshan let go of Lin Fan, and then looked at the other long sword in Lin Fan's hand. There was no need to guess that it was also a weapon forged with special materials. Brother Lin Fan, sister, you two can chat slowly. I'm going to test the swords over there, Murinshan said, and walked away tactfully, not being a light bulb here. After Murinshan left, Lin Fan handed the other long sword to Murinzu. Thank you. Murinzu also gave Lin Fan a hug and whispered in Lin Fan's ear. However, she hugged Lin Fan for a shorter time than Murinshan did, and soon let go. Now that we have this long sword forged with special materials, the previous two long swords are vacant. How about giving them to Xiaoxiao and the others to use first? Murinzu said. That's fine. After all, with these two swords, the other two swords won't be used, Lin Fan nodded. But there are 4 of them, and 2 swords don't seem to be enough, Murinzu said. The 4 people she was talking about were naturally Lin Xiaoxiao, Ding Ruaya, Zhang Xintong and Mu Linger. As for Ding Ruaya, let Wang Jianwei ask Mr. Wang to forge it for her. I have no control over this, Lin Fan smiled lightly and said, as for Dr. Zhang, she doesn't really need weapons at the moment. Just give the 2 swords to Xiaoxiao and Mu Linger first. Zhang Xintong's main job is medical work. When the team was not strong enough, everyone had to participate in the battle. But now that the team is strong enough, it is everyone's responsibility to protect the medical staff from harm. The medical staff just need to be responsible for treatment and rescue. Hearing this, Murinzu nodded slightly and said, that's true. Then I'll go get Xiao Shan's sword and give it to Xiaoxiao and Mu Linger. Okay, Lin Fan also nodded. Now that things here are almost stable, when are you going to leave and return to Jiangnan City? Murinzu asked. 3 days later, Lin Fan glanced in the direction of the forging base and said, Old Wang is forging a large number of weapons. In 3 days, basically everyone in our team will have one. This way, everyone's combat effectiveness will be improved, and it will be safer to go to Jiangnan City. Chapter 159, Name Test A. By the way, what about the bullets? Do you have 100,000? Murinzu asked again. She had heard Lin Fan mention before that they would wait until they had enough bullets before setting off for Jiangnan City. It will be about 3 days before we can have 100,000 bullets, Lin Fan smiled slightly and said. The group of people trained by Professor Mu and Professor Zhou mastered the machines very quickly and skillfully, and the production speed was not affected at all. Well, after we transfer the people from Jiangnan City here, our team will be truly strong, and then we can keep up with the production in all aspects. At this point, Murengzu suddenly sighed and said, however, they probably have already started planting food and so on, and it would be a waste to transfer them all here. It's only been about a month, and planting can't progress too fast. Moreover, the water resources over there are not very sufficient. Here, with sufficient resources, it will be more conducive to planting, Lin Fan pondered. That's right, then we will use this island as a base for long-term development in the future, right? Murengzu asked. That's the case at the moment, Lin Fan's eyes flashed, and he said, we have unique advantages here now. We have water resources, electricity resources, and production machines. The most important thing is that we don't have to worry too much about the outbreak of the zombie tide. The animal zombies in the ocean generally don't come ashore on a large scale. As the time of the doomsday outbreak goes by, the number of evolved zombies will gradually increase. This means that when the zombie tide breaks out in the future, there will be many evolved zombies in the zombie tide. The more evolved zombies there are, the more difficult it will be to resist. On this island, it is obviously an absolute advantage in facing the zombie tide. Soon, Lin Fan added, of course, when our team becomes stronger and the number of people increases, when this island can no longer accommodate us, we will have to find a new place outside. There will definitely be such a day, Murengzu believed it without a doubt. 3 days passed quickly. During these 3 days, Old Wang stepped up the forging of weapons, and the bullets were also stepped up. Finally, after 3 days of hard work, the weapons and bullets were perfectly achieved. Lin Fan distributed weapons, guns and ammunition to everyone. Glancing at the crowd, he said loudly, I believe everyone already knows that our destination is Jiangnan City. There is a survivor base there that is full of our people. This time we are going there to bring them all back and bring them to this island to live and develop together. However, we have to leave people on the island. In addition to Professor Mu, Professor Zhou and Elder Wang, at least 7 more people must be left. Let me ask first, is there anyone who wants to stay voluntarily? The total number of people at this time is not very large. Counting Elder Wang and the other 3, 10 people are already quite a lot. The rest have to go to Jiangnan City. After Lin Fan's voice spread in the field, about half a minute later, no one took the initiative to express their willingness to stay. After all, in their hearts, on the one hand, they all wanted to go out and see the world, and on the other hand, they felt that if they took the initiative to ask to stay, others might think that they were greedy for life and afraid of death, and just wanted to enjoy the stability on the island. Since everyone is unwilling to stay, I will call out the names and arrange them. Lin Fan was not too surprised by this result. He had already thought of a backup plan. Within a minute, Lin Fan read out the names of 7 people. These 7 people were not randomly selected by Lin Fan, but he had previously communicated with Elder Wang, Mu Guoshan and Professor Zhou in private. If no one volunteered to stay, then let these 7 people stay. Because the 7 of them can help well in forging weapons and scientific research. You 7, while you stay on the island, you must all obey the arrangements of Elder Wang, Professor Mu and Professor Zhou. Do you understand? Lin Fan looked at the 7 people who were called out and stood beside him, and said in a serious tone. Understood, the 7 people answered in unison without any hesitation. They would not have any idea of disobeying. After all, following Lin Fan's team, they all experienced an unprecedented sense of security. This made them cherish this team very much, and it was impossible for them to do anything to kill themselves. Seeing this, Lin Fan did not say anything more to them, but walked towards Elder Wang and the other 2. Elder Wang, Professor Mu, Professor Zhou, then this place is handed over to you, Lin Fan said. Okay, don't worry, there won't be any problems. Be careful and pay attention to safety. Old Wang nodded. Mu Guoshan and Professor Zhou said the same thing. Lin Fan walked back to the crowd, waved his hand, and said, get on the boat and set off. With Lin Fan's order, everyone naturally didn't delay a minute or a second, and quickly boarded the ship. Zhang Xianjun and others drove the boat to the island. Old Wang and others stood on the beach until they couldn't see the shadow of the ship clearly in their sight, and then they looked away. Then, Old Wang led people to the forging base, while Mu Guxian and Professor Zhou led people to the bullet production base. There will be no impact between the two sides. Donghu Copper Factory. Cheng Libei and others gathered together. Cheng Libei's face was not very good. They expanded their search outward from Donghu Copper Factory for several days and searched such a large area, but still couldn't find Lin Fan and Old Wang and others. This made him feel ashamed. Because he promised to Jiaki solemnly that after gathering everyone here to search, they would definitely be able to find traces of Lin Fan, Old Wang and others. If they didn't find them in the end, he didn't know how to face Hujiaki. Brother Chang, everyone has finished eating. Shall we continue the search? Wu Huiqing walked in front of Cheng Libei and asked slowly. Just now, they had concentrated on eating and resting. After eating, they naturally had to ask Cheng Libei for his opinion and arrangements on when to start the search. Without Hujiaki here, Cheng Libei was their leader. Just as Cheng Libei was about to speak, two cars drove in from outside. Everyone looked back and locked their eyes on the two cars. Many people had already taken their guns and entered a state of combat readiness. However, when they saw the people coming out of the car clearly, this state of combat readiness was instantly lifted. Sister Qi, everyone shouted in unison. The person who came was Hujiaki. Jiaki, why are you here? Cheng Libei's eyes were full of surprise. He didn't expect Hujiaki to come from the villa area in person. Let's take a look at the results of your search, Hujiaki said. Chapter 160, Misjudgment. Cheng Libei led the team to search for several days, but Hujiaki did not receive any good news in the villa area. Therefore, she decided to come and see in person to see how the search was going. Jiaki, we are searching every day. Although we haven't found their location yet, I believe that if we continue to search like this, we will find it soon, Cheng Libei said with a serious look. We found a lot of traces of large trucks driving by in the past 2 days. They must be the trucks they used to transport materials. Didn't you continue to search along the traces? Hujiaki frowned and asked. We could have continued to search, but it rained heavily 2 days ago and destroyed all the traces, Cheng Libei said helplessly. They did find traces of large trucks driving on the ground and had been searching along the traces, but the heavy rain 2 days ago was too severe, and all the traces were washed clean by the rain, so they temporarily lost the clues. However, according to our inference, if the road continues to drive, it should reach the seaside, Cheng Libei added. Do you mean that they transported the materials to the seaside area? Hujiaki asked. Yes, at least 80% of the time, we can make this judgment, Cheng Libei nodded. There are many factories in the coastal area, but they are basically seafood factories. If they really transported the materials there, then it is very likely that they chose the seafood factory as their base, Hujiaki analyzed. I think so too, Cheng Libei's eyes flashed, and he said, I plan to lead the team to search the coastal area directly today. Let's go and take a look together, Hujiaki nodded. Okay, Cheng Libei looked at everyone, waved his hand, and said, get in the car and get ready. When everyone got in the car, they didn't waste any more time and drove straight to the coastal area. 3 hours later, Hujiaki, Cheng Libei and others arrived at the dock. Although they looked at the sea, they would not guess that Lin Fan, Wang Lao and others would be on an island in the ocean. Now, split into 2 teams, I will lead one team, you will lead the other team, and conduct a comprehensive search of the factories in the coastal area. Be careful when searching, and don't expose yourself casually. After finding them, you must first reunite, and you can't act alone, Hujiaki said solemnly. This time, we must catch them all in one fell swoop, and we can't give them any more chances. Understood? Everyone answered in unison. Then, according to what Hujiaki said, she led a team to search the factories on the left side of the pier, and Cheng Libei led a team to search the factories on the right side of the pier. The 2 teams set off separately and acted as quickly as possible. In the evening, the 2 teams returned to the original place and reunited. How is it? Did you find anything over there? Hujiaki's eyes fell on Cheng Libei and asked immediately. We found a lot of traces of zombie activities in a seafood factory, and we also found a lot of bullet holes, Cheng Libei replied. This doesn't mean anything. After all, there are not only them still active in this city, but there may also be traces of other teams' activities. Besides, there is no one in the factory now, right? Hujiaki frowned and asked. No one. We have checked it thoroughly and even checked every room in person. There is indeed no one, Cheng Libei said. So, it means there is nothing to gain, no. Cheng Libei looked a little embarrassed and said, Jiaqi, have you found anything over there? If you have found anything, would I still ask you these questions now? Hu Jiaqi's tone became obviously unhappy. So many days have passed, and their search work has not made any substantial breakthroughs. They can't get any news about Lin Fan, Wang Lao and others. In addition, Cheng Libei vowed to ensure that if they gathered their manpower together to search, they would definitely be able to find it, but now the facts tell her that this method has no effect. All these factors added up together, and she was really upset. Jiaqi, I'm sorry, I made a wrong judgment, and I am willing to take all the responsibility. Cheng Libei heard the displeasure in Hu Jiaqi's tone and apologized. Okay, let's not waste time talking about this now. Let's follow the previous plan and gradually search the entire city. No matter where they go, we must find them, Hu Jiaqi ordered. Her uneasiness has been getting stronger day by day. If she doesn't find Lin Fan, Wang Lao and others, she can't rest at ease every day. Yes, Cheng Libei didn't dare to express any different opinions, so he could only nod and agree. Return to the villa area, rest for a night, and continue to search according to the previous team tomorrow. Hu Jiaqi returned to the car after saying that. Seeing this, Cheng Libei and others did not hesitate at all, and returned to the car and started driving back to the villa area. The next morning, the three teams set off again to continue their search work. On the other side, Lin Fan and others drove on the road and rushed towards Jiangnan City. The RV is not small, and it can accommodate more than 20 people. Originally, with Wang Jianwei's personality, he would call people to play cards together during this boring car ride, but now that he is in love with Ding Ruaya, he thinks playing cards is a boring thing. At this time, he was sitting side by side with Ding Ruaya on the ground, hugging Ding Ruaya and whispering, You too, can you control your love? You do it so many times every day. Don't you consider our feelings? Muran Shan glanced at them and said jokingly. Haha, hearing this, the others laughed happily, and all their eyes were focused on Wang Jianwei and Ding Ruaya. Suddenly being watched by so many people, Ding Ruaya's face turned red and she felt very embarrassed. Wang Jianwei was thick-skinned. He smiled and said, We will control it in the future and try to pee less than twice a day, tisk. I don't believe you. Muran Shan rolled her eyes at Wang Jianwei, then looked at Ding Ruaya and said, Sister Ruaya, let me tell you, if he is always pestering you now and stops doing so after a while, then just beat him to death so that he won't find all kinds of excuses. Hearing this, Ding Ruaya blushed and smiled, saying, If I can't beat him by then, you have to help me. Muran Shan's strength, she knew it very well. Muran Shan patted her chest lightly and said cheerfully, Okay, if he dares to change his mind, I will help you beat him to death. Beat him so hard that he can't take care of himself. Wang Jianwei had a bitter smile on his face and couldn't say a word. Chapter 161, Problems with a Base. Jiangnan City, Survivor Base. In an office, Chen Xianlong sat at the first seat. There were two figures under Chen Xianlong's left and right hands, Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun. Brother Chen, judging from the current situation, I think the other party will not be able to bear it for long and will start a war with us. What should we do? Guan Wenbin frowned slightly and looked at Chen Xianlong and asked. Yes, Brother Chen, during this period of time, their people have been observing our movements. I also think it won't be long before they will start a war with us. Du Liangjun's face was extremely solemn, and he said, We have to come up with a response plan. Well, if they come by force, then we won't be at a loss. Guan Wenbin nodded. I called you here today just to discuss with you and come up with the best plan, Chen Xianlong said slowly. After Lin Fan and others left, he integrated the entire survivor base very well according to what Lin Fan said. This kind of integration is actually equivalent to letting everyone truly stand on the same front without any other dissent. Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun were both very impressed with Chen Xianlong's integration. They had never thought that Chen Xianlong could completely integrate the survivor base in such a short time. At this point, the two of them could not find any other words to describe it except to express admiration. After the integration, Chen Xianlong asked everyone to make a series of preparations. First, go outside to search for more supplies, then to transport the medical supplies back, and finally start the planting work. Everything was developing and progressing in a very good direction. However, a week ago, a team that went out to search suddenly met with another person, and a fierce conflict broke out between the two sides. In this conflict, both sides suffered heavy losses. After they reunited, they learned that both sides belonged to the survivor base. Moreover, the survivor base where the other party was located was also organized privately. It's just that the other party likes to do some robbing and can't stand any loss. In this conflict, it could have been a big deal, a small deal, and there would be no more conflicts between the two sides. But the other party was relentless and insisted that Chen Xianlong give compensation. Chen Xianlong thought that the base had just been integrated and it was not easy to have external conflicts, so he did not intend to get too entangled with the other party. It was not unacceptable to give some compensation. What Chen Xianlong did not expect was that they took the things according to the compensation proposed by the other party, but the other party was greedy and changed temporarily, asking for more compensation before they would give up. The most important thing was that the compensation they increased was very excessive. Obviously, the negotiation failed. Chen Xianlong took his people back to the survivors' base, and the other party quickly said that if the compensation was not sent over quickly, the two sides would start a war. Brother Chen, we must not agree to the conditions they proposed. This time, we don't have to consider the result of seeking peace. Let's start the war. We are not necessarily worse than them. Guan Wenbin thought of the compensation proposed by the other party, and there was anger in his eyes. I don't think we are worse than them. I am considering how to minimize the damage. Chen Xianlong's expression was slightly condensed. How about we use defense as offense? Du Liangjun thought for a moment and said, since they are going to attack us, we might as well stay in the base. As long as we defend the base, they will never be able to attack. In this way, we can wait for the enemy to tire themselves out. At least we have a little advantage in some aspects. Hearing what Du Liangjun said, Guan Wenbin nodded and said, that makes sense. Our base is very safe. If they attack, they will expose a larger target range. They will definitely suffer the most. There is another question to consider, Chen Xianlong said. What question? Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun were both startled, with puzzled expressions on their faces. Chen Xianlong pondered and said, our base is very strong against ordinary zombies, there is no doubt about that, but you have to know that ordinary zombies only know how to squeeze over and don't know how to use other means. If we are facing people, it will not be so simple, because people can choose many means. At least, they can drive those heavy trucks to hit the base. Even if the walls of the base have been thickened by us, it is impossible to stop the impact of heavy trucks. Once they attack the base walls in this way from multiple directions at the same time, we will face great trouble. What's more, they have guns in their hands, which are means that zombies cannot take. Chen Xianlong is not only good at management, but also quite mature and comprehensive in thinking about problems. What he just analyzed is what Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun didn't think of. Brother Chen is right, the two of us thought too simply. The other side is human, and the number of people in the base is not necessarily less than ours, Guan Wenbin said in a deep voice. Moreover, before they come to attack us, they will definitely discuss many attack plans and then choose the one they think is the best plan. Brother Chen, what is your opinion? Du Liangjun asked. Chen Xianlong took a deep breath, and after a long while, he spoke. What I think is that if the other party must take action, then the priority must be for us to take a defensive approach in the base. After all, they think that we dare not have a head-on conflict with them and will stay in the base all the time. In other words, the offensive plans they are considering are basically formulated for us to stay in the base. Then, we have to do the opposite. The more they think we are in the base, the more we can't do what they want. Hearing this, Du Liangjun immediately asked, Brother Chen, does that mean we should take the initiative to attack? Not to say take the initiative to attack. Chen Xianlong shook his head and said, we can ambush in the surrounding area. Once we find that they have a definite intention to take action, we can take the initiative and let them experience the feeling of being attacked by surprise. Yes. Brother Chen's idea is good, Guan Wenbin said excitedly. If they are attacked by us first, they will inevitably suffer heavy losses, and they will not be our opponents at that time. Yes, that's what I think. If we have to fight, we must seize the initiative and not give them any chance. Chen Xianlong nodded. Brother Chen, how do we ambush? You tell us, we will follow your instructions. We will do whatever you tell us to do. Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun both focused their eyes on Chen Xianlong. Chapter 162, cannot be used casually. Through this period of contact, Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun, even though they are evolvers and much stronger than Chen Xianlong, they both believe that they are not as good as Chen Xianlong in management and strategy. Therefore, they will definitely obey Chen Xianlong's arrangements. Chen Xianlong pondered for a while, and when he was about to speak about the ambush opportunity he was thinking of, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Chen Xianlong frowned slightly. When he called Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjin in just now, he had already told the gatekeeper not to disturb the meeting between the three of them unless there was something urgent. With such a warning and such a knock on the door, it means that there is indeed an emergency. At this moment, he even thought in his heart whether it was the people from the other base who attacked. If this is the case, it will become very tricky. The door opened, and a man in his 20s reported, "Brother Chen, our people who are observing the surrounding environment outside said that they saw several cars approaching us." Car? Chen Xianlong frowned again. This survivor base is close to the highway. It is actually normal for survivors to drive by. "Brother Chen, if there were only a few cars passing by, we wouldn't have to come here to report urgently. The key is that the leading one of those cars is a modified car." The man took a deep breath and said, "That modified car seems to be the one that appeared in our survivor base before." "What did you say?" Upon hearing this, Chen Xianlong's face immediately showed a hint of surprise. "Is it Lin Fan and the others who are back?" Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjin were also shocked. "Are you sure it's a modified car that appeared in our base?" "To be more certain," Chen Xianlong added, "is it a modified RV?" "Yes. Brother Chen, I'm very sure, it's a modified RV that appeared in our base before." The man nodded. Chen Xianlong's eyes flashed, and he looked at Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjin and said, "Let's go out." After that, Chen Xianlong stood up, Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjin also stood up, and the three of them walked out together. Not long after, they arrived at the gate of the survivor base. "Where's the car? Hasn't it come yet?" Guan Wenbin asked. Just as he finished speaking, several cars appeared in their sight on the road outside the base. "It's really that RV." Guan Wenbin's tone became much more excited after seeing it. "Yes. Lin Fan is back." Du Liangjin also nodded excitedly. They were so impressed by the RV that they could recognize it at the first sight. Under their attention, the RV walked in front and drove towards the gate of the base with the cars behind. "Open the gate quickly." Chen Xianlong looked at the gatekeeper and immediately ordered. "Yes." The gatekeeper answered and opened the gate. "We will go down and wait directly." After Chen Xianlong finished speaking, he took Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjin down from the base wall and came to the gate. The RV drove over quickly and several cars stopped one after another. The car door opened, and Lin Fan and others got out of the car. Lin Fan, Chen Xianlong, Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjin all had a touch of joy in their eyes. Lin Fan smiled and nodded, and greeted each other. After Wang Jianwei and the others greeted Chen Xianlong and the other two, Lin Fan asked, "How is the situation at the base during this period?" Before Chen Xianlong could answer, Guan Wenbin could not help but said, "Lin Fan, I have to say that you are very good at selecting people. It is a very wise arrangement to let Brother Chen manage the base here." Yes, under Brother Chen's management, the survivors' base has been unified, and everyone abides by the rules of the base. There will not be conflicts from time to time like before. Du Liangjin followed. Lin Fan was not surprised by their answers. Because he did not kill Chen Xianlong at the beginning, because he saw Chen Xianlong's ability in this area. Facts have proved that Chen Xianlong did not disappoint him. In just about a month, he managed the survivors' base in an orderly manner. This also made Zhang Yuantang secretly admire Lin Fan's level of talent selection. If it were him, he would definitely get rid of Chen Xianlong in prison, but Lin Fan did not do so. Instead, he dealt with Chen Xianlong obediently and was willing to help manage. The most important thing is that after managing such a large survivor base, Chen Xianlong did not have any dissension thoughts of setting up his own business. This can be seen from Chen Xianlong's reaction to Lin Fan. "Brother Chen, then I have to thank you for managing this base so well," Lin Fan said with a smile. "Lin Fan, you are too polite. You gave me my life, so I should thank you," Chen Xianlong said. "However, Lin Fan, you came back just in time. We were originally discussing the ambush method, and now we can discuss it again," Guan Wenbin said. "The ambush method." Lin Fan glanced at Guan Wenbin and said, "Did you encounter something?" Chen Xianlong immediately told Lin Fan everything about the conflict. "So, it is basically certain that the other party is going to start a war?" Lin Fan asked. "Well, the probability is no less than 95%, Chen Xianlong nodded. "It's too much? They dared to ask for so much compensation. It's obvious that they did it on purpose, Wang Jianwei said indignantly. Jiang Yuansheng and others were also very angry. They didn't expect that the people in the survivor base were so shameless. Let's go. Let's go in first, so as not to be seen by the other side, Lin Fan ordered. He didn't know about these conflicts before. If he knew, he wouldn't waste time here. However, after a while, the other side should not have noticed it. After driving all the cars into the survivor base, Lin Fan and his group went to the conference room. The first seat naturally belonged to Lin Fan. Brother Chen, how much information do we know about the number and strength of the other base? Lin Fan looked at Chen Xianlong, who was sitting on his right. In terms of the number of people, it should not be much different from ours. As for the strength, we really haven't learned anything about it, but I think it shouldn't be much stronger than us, Chen Xianlong replied. If they were really much stronger, they wouldn't delay time and would have attacked us long ago. Xiao Fan, with our current material situation, we don't need to be afraid of the other side at all, right? We can even go over and get rid of the other side, Wang Jianwei said. The materials we brought here cannot be used casually, Lin Fan shook his head. Those supplies were prepared for bringing the people in the base back to the island. If they were used carelessly, the situation would become even more troublesome if they encountered danger on the way back to the island. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163. Join in. Brother Lin Fan, why can't we use those supplies? Murin Shan was young and simple-minded. She didn't understand the key point and asked curiously with her head tilted slightly. Because those supplies have a greater use, Lin Fan first glanced at Murin Shan, then looked at Chen Xianlong and said, speaking of this, I'll tell you by the way, after we solve this matter, we will leave here together. Leave here? Hearing this, Chen Xianlong, Guan Wenbin and Du Liangjun were all shocked, and their faces showed disbelief. Yes, we came back this time just to take everyone away, Lin Fan pondered. Where to go? Chen Xianlong asked. To an island, Lin Fan smiled slightly and said, it's very safe there, basically you don't have to worry about things like zombies. Island? Chen Xianlong and the other two were even more surprised. They never thought that they could survive on an island. And, on that island, you don't have to worry about electricity and water, Lin Fan emphasized. Lin Fan, why is that? Guan Wenbin was extremely curious. He could imagine that the island could effectively prevent the danger of the zombie tide, but he couldn't understand why Lin Fan said that he didn't have to worry about electricity and water. After all, power generation requires professional technology, and you can't drink seawater. Lin Fan explained with a smile. After listening, Guan Wenbin and the other two reacted. Chen Xianlong couldn't help but sighed. I didn't expect you to find such a place this time. Yes, we stay here, everything else is fine, but it's really inconvenient to use electricity and water. The island can perfectly solve these two problems, which is really great, Du Liangjun said with a smile. Brother Chen, have you started planting here? Wang Jianwei asked. Yes, but the water resources have not been well solved, and the planting effect is not very good, Chen Xianlong said helplessly. Haha, don't worry about it now, Wang Jianwei laughed. After continuing to talk about these things for a while, Lin Fan shifted the topic back and said, do you know the specific location of the other party's base? Yes, Chen Xianlong nodded and said, they directly occupied the former Jiangnan Normal University as their base. You should all know about Jiangnan Normal University, right? Yes, I know. I've been there twice before, Lin Fan's eyes condensed and said, the main thing is to understand their specific strength first, Guan Wenbin said with embarrassment, they are the same as us. They have arranged people to guard outside. If we want to go inside to understand the situation, we will definitely be discovered by them in advance and it will be impossible to get close. Yes, this is indeed difficult, Chen Xianlong frowned slightly and said, we have considered this plan before, but our people were discovered as soon as they went there. If they hadn't retreated quickly, their lives would have been in danger. Lin Fan thought for a while and said, Brother Chen, have there been other people joining our survivor base during this period? Yes, during this period of time, we have added about 300 to 400 people, but there were also some losses when we went out to search for supplies. Generally speaking, the increase in the number of people is greater than the loss, Chen Xianlong responded quickly. Lin Fan suddenly asked such a question. And he subconsciously thought that Lin Fan wanted to know whether the base had become better or worse during his time in charge. However, he immediately realized that he had misunderstood Lin Fan's meaning. Lin Fan smiled slightly and said, "We and they exist in the form of a survivor base. We have new people joining us constantly, which means that they must have new people joining them constantly. Then, we can use this to get the information we want." Lin Fan, do you mean that we can pretend to be new people to join their base, so that we can sneak in and learn more openly? Zhang Xianjun asked. Yes, that's what I mean. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Xianjun approvingly. Zhang Xianjun is indeed a master born in the special forces. He has a deeper understanding of these issues. This is a great idea. We haven't thought of it before. Chen Xianlong almost had the idea of applauding. In the past few days, they have been trying to find out the specific strength of the other party's base, but after thinking about it, they have not come up with any suitable method. They can only make a rough estimate. But this kind of estimate is completely a real blind guess. They have no idea how much difference there is between the guess data and the real data. If we can't understand it secretly, we will do the opposite and join their base directly and openly. In this way, we can get a lot of information about them. Lin Fan smiled faintly. He not only wants to know the number of the opponent's evolvers, but also the firepower of the opponent. Only by figuring out these first can we better formulate a countermeasure plan. Lin Fan, let the three of us do the matter of infiltrating the opponent's base. Zhang Xianjun looked at his two teammates, then looked at Lin Fan and asked, "Brother Zhang, I have to go there myself for this matter," Lin Fan said. What? Everyone was shocked. Lin Fan, isn't this too risky? Chen Xianlong's expression changed drastically. Xiao Fan, you are the leader of our team. You are going deep behind the enemy lines. It's not that we don't believe in your ability, but if something happens to you, then we, Wang Jianwei was also worried. Although he didn't finish his words, everyone could understand what he wanted to express. It was indeed the case. Lin Fan was the leader of the entire team. To a certain extent, anyone could have an accident, except Lin Fan. Once Lin Fan had an accident, the entire team would lose its soul. Everyone knew that the team could grow to this point today, and it was inseparable from Lin Fan's leadership. Lin Fan was necessary. Don't worry, the other party doesn't know my identity. At that time, I will just be a normal person who joined their base. No one will speculate so much. Lin Fan smiled lightly and said, however, Brother Zhang, the three of you can go with me. We have to show some strength so that we can get close to the top leaders of the other base. Otherwise, if just ordinary people join, we may not even have the opportunity to meet the top leaders of the other side. Lin Fan couldn't tell them that the reason he had to go was because he could read data. Only by reading out the specific data can he judge the opponent's strength more intuitively. Chapter 164 Setting up the encirclement. This kind of large-scale base with thousands of people, if it does not show strong strength, it is indeed not necessarily possible to see the leaders and senior executives of the other side's base. Now what Lin Fan needs to master is the data information of the leaders and senior executives of the other side. As long as the data of these people is clear, he can understand the strength of the entire base of the other side. Zhang Xianjun and the other two naturally have no objection to Lin Fan's arrangement. Lin Fan, when do you plan to go? Murengzu knew that Lin Fan had made up his mind, and looked at Lin Fan and asked. Everyone was obviously very curious about this question, and their eyes all fell on Lin Fan. The other side is about to take action, so we have to be faster. Lin Fan glanced at Zhang Xianjun and the other two, and said, we will go there immediately. Okay, Zhang Xianjun and the other three nodded. While we go to understand the situation, you should make arrangements here, pack up the things that should be packed in advance, and make the battle preparations that should be made, Lin Fan ordered. At present, we have to pack up our things and leave here to the island, and at the same time, we must be prepared to go to war with the other side's base. After giving the order, Lin Fan, Zhang Xianjun and the other two did not waste any more time. They walked out of the conference room and, led by a person arranged by Chen Xianlong, rushed towards the opponent's base. At the same time, in Jiangnan Normal University, in a multimedia classroom, many people were gathering here. Brother Fan, I think we don't need to waste time with Chen Xianlong and his men. We have given them enough opportunities to think. They haven't made any moves until now, which means they are determined not to pay compensation. A burly man looked at the one-eyed dragon sitting in the first seat and expressed his opinion. Brother Fan, I also think we don't need to delay any longer. We must teach them a lesson, otherwise they will think we really don't dare to attack them, another man said. As their voices fell, some of the others also expressed their own ideas. However, these ideas basically suggested that both sides go to war, and only a few people thought that they should continue to wait and see. After listening to everyone's opinions, Fan Ming's eyes narrowed slightly and said, the strength of Chen Xianlong's base is not as simple as we imagined. If the two sides go to war, we must have a good tactical arrangement, otherwise, even if we can defeat them, our losses will definitely be considerable. As the boss of the base, Fan Ming knew very well that the scale and impact of the fight between two large bases would be quite large. If there is no good tactical arrangement, it is possible to cause a situation where both sides will suffer losses. Brother Fan, although they are guarding inside the base, we just need to knock down their walls, especially at night when everyone is asleep. We can definitely give them a heavy blow if we rush in. The burly man spoke again. Fan Ming glanced at him and said, don't think so one-sidedly. You have to know that they will definitely arrange people to patrol and guard outside all night, and our movements here are still very easy to be discovered. In other words, even if we are not discovered at the beginning, we can't rush into their base on a large scale. That would be more unsafe. Brother Fan, what should we do? Are we just going to wait like this? The man continued to ask. Lure them out. Fan Ming tapped his fingers on the table and said, luring them out of the base to fight will be more advantageous for us. The key lies in how to lure them out. Fan Ming himself is not a good person. He has always wanted to swallow up Chen Xianlong's side, but there has been no suitable opportunity. If there was a suitable opportunity before, he would have taken action long ago and would not have waited until now. Why don't we set up an encirclement outside their base and not let their people leave the encirclement? Kill one if one comes out, and kill two if two come out. When they can't bear it anymore, they will definitely come to us for revenge. This is a good idea. We don't need to be soft-hearted to them. What's more, we have to control the entire Jiangnan city, so we can't leave others behind. Yes, we must destroy them. By then, all the resources of Jiangnan city will be in our hands, and we can develop more rapidly. Brother Fan, let's set up an encirclement. Kill them until they are jealous, kill them until they can't bear it, and kill them until they take the initiative to start a war. Everyone spoke one after another, and their words revealed the same meaning. Fan Ming had a murderous smile on his face, and said, then do as you said. Set up an encirclement outside Chen Xianlong's base and arrange people to guard the encirclement. Kill every one of their people who come out, and don't leave any alive. Also, after a certain amount of corpses have accumulated, they must be sent to the gate of the base to let them know what the consequences will be if they don't obey my orders. Hearing this, everyone nodded and laughed. This is the means they should show. Brother Fan, then I will arrange it now. Go, soon. This action against Chen Xianlong's base was quickly launched under Fan Ming's orders. 5 figures walked on a road, and after another 10 minutes, the 5 figures gradually stopped. Brother Lin Fan, the place ahead is close to Jiangnan Normal University, and there are people from the other base guarding all around. The 18-year-old boy who led Lin Fan and the other 4 over touched his head and said with a smile, well, you go back first. Lin Fan thought for a moment and added, by the way, go back and tell them not to act rashly before we come back. In fact, they can reduce their outings during this period, so as to give the other side a feeling that we are a little worried about starting a war. Okay, Brother Lin Fan, I'll go back and tell them right away. After the young man finished speaking, he turned around and returned to the base without further delay. After the young man left, Zhang Xianjun looked around and said, Lin Fan, we need to attract their attention. We have to make some noise. Otherwise, we can attract a group of zombies. Okay, Lin Fan nodded. Attracting zombies to kill is the most intuitive way to show our ability. As long as they see our ability, they will definitely come forward to negotiate with us. At that time, we must act more naturally and not let them have any possibility of perceiving our purpose. Zhang Xianjun and the other 2 also nodded. They were special forces soldiers and had no problem with their psychological quality, so they would naturally behave well. Captain Zhang, then you wait here for a while. And the 2 of us will go to attract the zombies. Okay, let's go. Chapter 165. Wait a minute. Zhang Xianjun's 2 teammates were very reliable in their work, and soon attracted a large group of zombies. The number of zombies in this group was at least more than 1,000. Roar. The harsh sound continued to come from the zombie group. Even in this group of zombies, 2 zombies have evolved. Although they are only level 1 zombies, the appearance of 2 zombies under such a base is enough to show that the number of evolved zombies is gradually increasing during this period. Do we start now? Zhang Xianjun glanced at the zombies, then turned his head to look at Lin Fan and asked. No hurry, wait a little longer, let's get closer to the opponent's base, so that the opponent can notice us faster. Lin Fan smiled lightly. So, Lin Fan and the other 4 led the zombies to the guard circle outside the opponent's base. Okay, it's almost here, we can start. Lin Fan's eyes flashed, and he said, don't deal with the 2 evolved zombies so quickly for the time being. It's not too late to deal with them after the opponent's people come. Yes. Hearing this, Zhang Xianjun and the other 3 nodded. Then, the 4 of them rushed into the zombie group and began to slaughter the zombies one-sidedly. Under a dense tree, a dozen figures gathered here. These 10 figures were all from Fan Ming's base, and they were responsible for guarding all the movements in this direction. The sound of zombies coming from the front instantly attracted their attention. Brother Peng, it seems that there are many zombies approaching, one person said. Let's go and take a look. Zhang Fipeng nodded and took the lead to get up and move. The rest of the people hurriedly followed him and rushed to the direction where the zombies came from. Zhang Fipeng is the evolver of this guard point. His strength is stronger than others. They all have to obey Zhang Fipeng's arrangements. If anyone dares to disobey, the consequences will be very serious. At the beginning, someone slightly disobeyed Fan Ming's order. That person thought that he was an evolver after all, and Fan Ming would at most punish him verbally, and would not do anything extreme to him. However, what he didn't expect was that Fan Ming was not merciful at all. Even though he was an evolver, Fan Ming also gave him a very severe punishment. He used a red-hot iron to brand him 3 times, in front of many people. After branding, Fan Ming did not let it go, and killed the other party in a cruel way. At that time, Fan Ming made a rule that everyone must obey orders and arrangements, and those who disobeyed would be punished very painfully. With a previous experience of that person, the rest of the people naturally dared not disobey Fan Ming's rules again. When Zhang Fipeng and others came to the zombies, they happened to see Lin Fan and the other 4 fighting in the zombie group. Those zombies were killed by Lin Fan and the other 4 with great ease. I'll deal with the 2 evolved zombies, and you continue to kill other zombies. Now that the other party's people have come, there is no need to waste time. You can kill faster and show stronger strength. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Xianjun and said. Lin Fan spoke loudly, but due to the interference of the zombies' voices, Zhang Fipeng and others could not hear what Lin Fan was saying. After the voice fell, Lin Fan locked his sight on the 2 evolved zombies, and without any hesitation, he quickly approached the 2 evolved zombies. Zhang Xianjun and the other 2 followed what Lin Fan said and showed stronger strength to kill ordinary zombies. Seeing this scene, Zhang Fipeng and others all showed a touch of surprise on their faces. Brother Peng, they don't seem to be ordinary people. After seeing the performance of Lin Fan and the other 4, the people next to Zhang Fipeng couldn't help but show a touch of surprise in their eyes. Hearing this, Zhang Fipeng nodded and said, ordinary people can't have such strength at all. They are all evolvers. Brother Peng, why do I feel that their strength is not worse than yours? The man asked again. Well, they are indeed no worse than me. Zhang Fipeng narrowed his eyes and said, where are the 4 of them from? Could they be from Chen Xianlong's base? How could they be from Chen Xianlong's base? A woman in her 30s said, they are now hostile to us. As long as they are not fools, they know not to get close to our base, let alone come to our guard circle. That's right, they are not from Chen Xianlong's base. Zhang Fipeng took a deep breath and said, after they deal with those zombies, we can ask about their origins. If there is no problem with their origins, we can try to invite them to join our base. Although Zhang Fipeng's strength is not very strong, he can see that Lin Fan and the other 4 are very strong, especially Lin Fan, who is now dealing with the 2 evolved zombies alone, and his strength is obviously stronger than the other 3. Brother Peng, if the 4 of them are really willing to join our base, then we will also be considered to have made contributions, right? The person who spoke at the beginning asked again. Of course, Zhang Fipeng's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he said, as long as they are willing to join, Brother Fan will definitely give us a lot of rewards. At that time, maybe we will let us pick a few women to enjoy. Ha ha ha. The men around couldn't help but laugh. In Fan Ming's base, if a man performs well, he can get a woman as a reward, and if a woman performs well, she can get a man as a reward. Although this kind of reward sounds a bit weird, it must be said that this kind of reward is quite stimulating to many people. Then I have to choose a man to sleep with at that time. The woman in her 30s also showed a deep smile on her face. While Zhang Fipeng and others were talking, Lin Fan had quickly come to the front of the two evolved zombies. He stared at the two evolved zombies, swung the axe in his hand, and chopped the head of the evolved zombie on the left at an extremely precise angle. The head of the evolved zombie flew up directly under the chop of the axe. After killing an evolved zombie, Lin Fan did not stop. He turned his eyes and locked onto the head of the evolved zombie on the right. He swung the axe again, and the head of this evolved zombie also flew up and fell to the ground. After Lin Fan dealt with the two evolved zombies, Zhang Xianjun and the other two also dealt with the rest of the ordinary zombies. The smell of rotten blood in the air became stronger. Lin Fan glanced in the direction of Zhang Fipeng and others, then pretended that nothing was wrong and said, "Let's go." Just as the four of them were about to turn around and leave, Zhang Fipeng's voice came, "Friends, please wait a moment." Chapter 166 Bring Back. Hearing Zhang Fipeng's voice, Lin Fan naturally turned his attention to Zhang Fipeng and said, "What's the matter?" Zhang Fipeng led his men to come forward, stretched out his hand to Lin Fan, and said, "Hello, my name is Zhang Fipeng, let's meet." Lin Fan stretched out his hand and shook Zhang Fipeng's hand, acting very naturally, neither enthusiastic nor cold. "When you were dealing with this group of zombies just now, we happened to see you over there. We admire your strength very much. I wonder where you are from," Zhang Fipeng asked. "We are from the next city," Lin Fan answered simply. "Next city?" Zhang Fipeng turned his mind around, but he didn't delve into this question too much. He mainly wanted to know if there was any background organization behind Lin Fan and the other four. Thinking of this, he didn't beat around the bush and asked directly, "Lin Fan, have you four joined any forces?" "Why do you ask?" Lin Fan's face revealed a trace of vigilance. Seeing the alertness on Lin Fan's face, Zhang Fipeng quickly explained, "I don't mean anything else. I just want to tell you four that we have a survivor base here with several thousand people. If you haven't joined any forces, you can consider going to our base to have a look." Survivor base with several thousand people. Lin Fan deliberately looked at Zhang Fipeng with a surprised look. Zhang Xianjun and the other two also showed surprise. "Yes, no less than 5,000 people," Zhang Fipeng nodded. "I always thought that after the outbreak of the Doomsday, humans no longer gathered on a large scale. I didn't expect that you still have such a survivor base. It's incredible." Lin Fan's tone was a little surprised. Zhang Fipeng was secretly happy about the surprise shown by Lin Fan and his friends. In his opinion, this was the beginning of Lin Fan and his friends' curiosity. Once people have curiosity, they will want to understand the truth clearly. Zhang Fipeng temporarily suppressed the joy in his heart and said, "If you don't believe it, I can take you to our survivor base to have a look. After seeing it, you will know whether what I said is true. Isn't this not good?" Lin Fan looked hesitant. "Yet, if we suddenly go to your survivor base, will it be too much of a bother?" Zhang Xianjun echoed. No, our survivor base welcomes all survivors," Zhang Fipeng said enthusiastically. "You are so strong, I can introduce you to our brother Fan. Brother Fan is the leader of our survivor base, and he appreciates capable people the most." This sentence is undoubtedly what Lin Fan wants to hear the most. "If it's not a bother, then let's go and see." Lin Fan hesitated again, and then agreed. "It just so happens that a few of us also like to make more friends. There are so many people in the survivor base, maybe we can meet a lot of friends, that's for sure." Hearing that Lin Fan agreed to follow him to the survivor base, Zhang Fipeng was so happy that he didn't show it on the surface. He said normally, "Our survivor base is not far ahead, and we will be there soon." "Okay, thank you for leading the way," Lin Fan nodded. Zhang Fipeng smiled and led Lin Fan and the other four to the survivor base. He didn't think that Lin Fan and the other four had any other purpose in going to the survivor base. He was just afraid that Lin Fan and the other four would not follow him. In that case, with the strength of their group, there is no way to force Lin Fan and the other four to stay. But now that Lin Fan has agreed to go to the survivor base, he doesn't have to worry about anything. When the time comes, Fan Mings will naturally try his best to keep Lin Fan and the other four after seeing the strength of Lin Fan and the other four. This method is not limited to using some extraordinary means. In terms of extraordinary means, Fan Mings is an expert among experts. As Zhang Fipeng said, the location was not far from their survivor base. After walking for about 7 or 8 minutes, the group arrived at the gate of the survivor base. This is the former Jiangnan Normal College. There are people guarding both sides of the gate. Lin Fan took a look and found that these gatekeepers were not evolvers, but ordinary people with strong bodies. Although Zhang Fipeng knew these gatekeepers, they were still stopped because they brought others with them. Who are they? The gatekeeper looked at Lin Fan and the other four and asked seriously. They are friends we met outside and brought back to the base to introduce them to Brother Fan, Zhang Fipeng said. When he said this, he looked at the gatekeeper with his back to Lin Fan. The gatekeeper instantly understood what Zhang Fipeng meant. This was equivalent to an unwritten code in their survivor base. If the person brought back from outside is valuable, just say that he brought him back to the base to introduce him to Fan Mings, and the gatekeeper will know what to do. Since you want to introduce him to Brother Fan, then you can go in, the gatekeeper nodded. Thank you, Zhang Fipeng thanked him, and waited until the gatekeeper opened the door before he led Lin Fan and others in. After entering this survivor base, Lin Fan has been observing the people and environment around him. Especially those who passed by him, he did not let go of any of them, and kept reading various data information. What surprised him a little was that the number of evolvers in this survivor base was not small. At least, there was a ratio of 1 evolver in every 100 people. This ratio can be said to be very high. It is equivalent to 50 evolvers in 5,000 people. Of course, this is only a partial estimate, and it does not directly indicate that there are 50 evolvers in this survivor base. Zhang Fipeng quickly brought Lin Fan and the other 3 to a small meeting room. Lin Fan, you guys take a rest here first. I'll go see if Brother Fan is free now. If he is, I'll take you to see Brother Fan, Zhang Fipeng said. Okay, Lin Fan nodded. Zhang Fipeng turned and walked out of the small meeting room, leaving only Lin Fan and Zhuang Xianzhen here. Lin Fan, the people in this survivor base don't look good. We have to be careful, Zhuang Xianzhen said with a serious face. Although he didn't have the ability to read data like Lin Fan, he could roughly feel that these people were not simple. It's okay, we just behave normally. After meeting their leader, we will pretend to join their survivor base. If we have the opportunity to go out, we will go back directly. Lin Fan's eyes condensed, and he said, if there is no opportunity to go out, then we will wait until night to find an opportunity to go out. In short, our purpose this time is just to investigate information, and we don't need to have a direct conflict with them. Chapter 167 Let them wait. Zhang Fipeng quickly came to Fan Mings. He looked at Fan Mings sitting in front of him with a smile on his face and said, Brother Fan, I have something to report. Go ahead, Fan Mings replied with a simple word. In his survivor base, he is the absolute king, and he can give no face to anyone. Moreover, Zhang Fipeng's strength is not very strong. If Zhang Fipeng hadn't specifically insisted on reporting something, he could have just met Zhang Fipeng. After getting Fan Mings' response, Zhang Fipeng did not hesitate and said quickly, Brother Fan, when we were guarding outside today, we met 4 people. They are all evolvers and very strong. 4 evolvers, Fan Mings frowned slightly. Yes, Zhang Fipeng nodded. What were they doing when they met them? Fan Mings asked. Killing zombies, Zhang Fipeng responded. At that time, they were probably dealing with more than 1,000 zombies, and there were 2 evolved zombies, but they were easily solved by them. Easily solved? So, the strength of any of the 4 of them should be above yours. Fan Mings still frowned. Yes, Brother Fan, I am definitely not their opponent. They are really strong, Zhang Fipeng said. Where are they now? Fan Mings asked. Hearing Fan Mings' question, Zhang Fipeng smiled and said, Brother Fan, I know you like to recruit talents. I think they are very strong, so I asked them to follow me back to the base. Now they are in the small conference room. If you want to see them, I will bring them here. Have you brought them back? Fan Mings' eyes flickered slightly. Another person sitting next to him also said, You are too impulsive. We don't know the details of the other party at all. You brought the other party to the base. What if the other party is from Chen Xianlong's base and comes to our base to get information? Have you ever thought about how serious the consequences will be? Someone from Chen Xianlong's base? Zhang Fipeng's expression froze, and his smile disappeared instantly. He said, This is unlikely, right? The situation between Chen Xianlong's base and our base is like fire and water. How can someone from their base have the courage to take the risk to come to our base? Everything is possible, the man snorted coldly and said. 4 people dealing with more than 1,000 zombies, just happened to be near our guard circle, and you just happened to see it. I think all this happened too coincidental, Brother Fan, what do you think? Zhang Fipeng looked at Fan Ming's with an embarrassed look and asked. No matter what the other party said, he did not think that the other party was from Chen Xianlong's base. After all, in his eyes, the strength shown by their base was strong enough, and it was impossible for someone from Chen Xianlong's base to risk their lives. Fan Ming's did not answer Zhang Fipeng immediately, but frowned and pondered for a while before speaking. No matter whether the other party is from Chen Xianlong base or not, they have already entered our base. Since they are in our territory, we have the final say. What's more, there are only 4 of them. Can they still make any waves? Brother Fan, hearing Fan Ming's words, the man wanted to say something. However, before he finished speaking, Fan Ming shook his head and interrupted him. Don't worry, the 4 evolvers can't pose any threat to us. If they are really from Chen Xianlong base, then I will let them know what it means to be worse off than dead. Brother Fan, do you want to see them? Zhang Fipeng asked hurriedly. Yes, Fan Ming nodded. Then I will bring them here now, Zhang Fipeng asked again. No hurry, let them wait for a while, and during this time, carefully observe their every move, Fan Ming said. Observe. Zhang Fipeng obviously didn't understand what Fan Ming meant. Fan Ming glanced at Zhang Fipeng calmly and said, it's very simple. If they are from Chen Xianlong base, it means they want to learn about us, and they will cherish the opportunity to stay in our base. In this way, they will not show any idea of leaving in a hurry, and will wait patiently. On the contrary, if they are not from Chen Xianlong base, you just bring them to our base to rest. If they are restricted, they will definitely feel unhappy and want to leave our base. So, do you understand? I understand. Zhang Fipeng nodded very quickly, gave Fan Ming a thumbs up, and said, Brother Fan's trick is really great. This time, the person sitting next to him did not express any different opinions. Obviously, he also agreed with Fan Ming's method. Okay, you go back first. In short, from now on, before 10 o'clock in the evening, just keep an eye on them. After 10 o'clock, make other decisions. Fan Ming waved his hand. Okay, Brother Fan, I'll go and watch them now. If there is any news, I will come to report as soon as possible, Zhang Fipeng said. After he finished speaking, he did not delay any longer, turned around and left here, and walked back to the small conference room. After Zhang Fipeng left, another person said, Brother Fan, are you really not worried that those 4 people are from Chen Xianlong base? Fan Ming shook his head and smiled, saying, don't you have to worry about it? Think about it from another angle. Those 4 people are really from Chen Xianlong base. They took the initiative to come to us, which means they are sending their heads. This is still a loss for Chen Xianlong base. That's right. Zhang Fipeng returned to the small conference room, looked at Lin Fan and the other 3, and said with a smile, our brother Fan is still busy at the moment, so you may have to wait a little longer. It's okay. Lin Fan also smiled. Then you wait here for a while, I'll ask someone to prepare some drinks for you, Zhang Fipeng said. Okay, thank you, Lin Fan said. Zhang Fipeng quickly asked someone to prepare some things for Lin Fan and the other 4, but he did not return to this conference room. The person who brought the things also walked out after putting down the things. An hour later, Zhang Xianjun said with a serious expression, Lin Fan, why do I feel that something is wrong? Have they discovered something? Lin Fan's expression did not change at all, and he said calmly, Brother Zhang, don't worry, we haven't been discovered. If we had been discovered, they would have attacked us now, instead of letting us eat, drink and rest here. Zhang Xianjun thought about it carefully and felt that what Lin Fan said made sense. If the other party had discovered their purpose, they would definitely not treat them like this. Chapter 168 Neglect. So are we going to wait forever? One of Zhang Xianjun's teammates asked. Let's wait for now, at least for a few hours, Lin Fan said. Wait for a few hours. Zhang Xianjun's eyes narrowed, and he heard the hidden meaning in Lin Fan's words. Lin Fan smiled and explained, the Fan brother that Zhang Fipeng mentioned didn't see us, not because he was really busy, but because he was testing us. Test? Zhang Xianjun and the other 2 were all stunned. They will definitely doubt our identity, Lin Fan pondered, that is to say, they will guess whether we are spies sent here to get information, and are testing our patience by waiting. If we are very patient and don't care that they make us wait for so long, it means that we must have come with a purpose, so we will show such an indifferent attitude, as long as we can stay here. But if we are not patient, and show displeasure when they make us wait for so long, it means that we have no purpose, but an attitude of, you don't respect us, and we don't need to respect you. In this way, they will believe that we are really people passing by from outside. Hearing what Lin Fan said, Zhang Xianjun and the other two suddenly realized it. No wonder they want us to wait here. It turns out that they are testing our patience and judging our identity, Zhang Xianjun said. Yes, this is their real intention. Lin Fan nodded and said, so, in a few hours, we must show impatience, otherwise they will have great doubts about our identity. Understood. Zhang Xianjun and the other two nodded again. 3 hours later, Lin Fan walked towards the door and stretched out his hand to open it. There was also someone guarding outside this small meeting room. The guard noticed that Lin Fan opened the door and immediately stretched out his hand to stop him, saying, "What are you doing? We are leaving here," Lin Fan said expressionlessly. "You are not allowed to leave without permission." The guard refused. "There is a man named Zhang Fipeng in your base. He brought us here. Go find him now. I have something to say to him," Lin Fan said. "Okay, but you have to go back to the room and wait," the guard said. Yet, Lin Fan was not surprised by this answer and turned around and walked back. In another room, Zhang Fipeng was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed. There were a few people sitting next to him. "Brother Peng, it's been so long, and those 4 guys haven't reacted. Could it be that they are actually from Chen Xianlong's base?" as Brother Fan said. A boy with a crew cut asked. "Well, if they are really from Chen Xianlong's base, then we bring them back. Will we be punished by Brother Fan?" another person asked weakly. Thinking of the methods Fan Ming's used to punish people, he couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. There was no way those methods left a deep impression on them. It can be said that they all had a shadow in their hearts, and no one wanted to bear Fan Ming's anger. Zhang Fipeng's heart trembled slightly, but he soon calmed down and shook his head and said, "Don't make random guesses here. I believe that Lin Fan and the other 4 are not from Chen Xianlong's base. Even if they are, they will die if they fall into our hands. You have to know that this is our base, our territory. Can the 4 of them do any harm to us?" "Brother Peng is right," the shaved boy said. "In our territory, dragons have to coil and tigers have to lie down. If they are really from Chen Xianlong's base, they are actively seeking death." Dong dong. At this moment, a knock on the door sounded. "Come in," Zhang Fipeng said. The door opened, and a man walked into the room. He looked at Zhang Fipeng and said, "Brother Peng, those people said they wanted to leave our base, so I stopped them. They said they wanted to see you and had something to tell you." Zhang Fipeng could naturally recognize the man at a glance as the one he had arranged to guard outside the small meeting room. He smiled and waved his hand, saying, "Let's go, I'll go see what they have to say." Soon, a group of people came to the small meeting room. "Lin Fan, what do you want to talk to me about?" Zhang Fipeng asked with a smile. "What do you mean? Bring us here and imprison us here?" Lin Fan asked in an unhappy tone. "How can that be? Isn't our Brother Fan still busy?" "Brother Fan said that he will see you after he finishes his work," Zhang Fipeng said. "We have been waiting here for several hours and don't want to wait any longer. Since you don't treat us as friends, then we don't have to treat you as friends. Now we just want to leave this place. Do you plan to let us leave?" Lin Fan asked again. If someone else were to change Lin Fan's attitude, they might still feel angry, but Zhang Fipeng could not help but not be angry, but felt a sense of joy in his heart. Because the more Lin Fan was like this, the more he could be sure that Lin Fan was not from Chen Xianlong's base. As long as Lin Fan was not from Chen Xianlong's base, he would not have to worry about being punished by Fan Ming's, but would get a reward from Fan Ming's. This was the most important thing for him. "Lin Fan, don't be angry. How could we not treat you as friends? Brother Fan is really busy with something, and he definitely doesn't mean to be perfunctory." Zhang Fipeng's heart moved, and he said, "How about this? I'll take you around our base, and when Brother Fan is done, I'll take you to see him as soon as possible." Although he had seen many people from this base while walking to the small meeting room just now, it was always only a short distance away, and he had not seen them thoroughly enough. Now that Zhang Fipeng had such a proposal, Lin Fan would certainly not refuse it, which was just right for him to get a more comprehensive understanding of all aspects of information. "Okay, I still say the same thing. If you treat us as friends, we will treat you as friends. Friendship is not about locking people up in a room. Lin Fan put on a reluctant look of agreement. Yes, I was negligent just now. I'm really sorry. Let's go out for a walk. Zhang Fipeng nodded quickly. He didn't take Lin Fan to see Fan Ming's now, mainly because Fan Ming's also said that no matter how Lin Fan and the other four behaved, they would have to wait until after 10 o'clock in the evening to see Lin Fan and the other four. Therefore, he could only take Lin Fan and the other four around the base for a while, and then take Lin Fan and the other four to see Fan Ming's when the time came. Chapter 169. No comments. Although Zhang Fipeng did not have much power in this survivor base, he still had the right to take Lin Fan and the other three around the base. He thought that by taking Lin Fan around, he could show the comprehensive strength of their base from the side, so as to attract Lin Fan to stay. Lin Fan and the other three were so strong, if they stayed, he would certainly hope to have a good relationship with them. In this way, he would be more confident in the base in the future. However, he never thought that because he took Lin Fan around, Lin Fan had a deeper understanding of Fan Ming's base. The data and information of many people were clearly read out by Lin Fan. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Fipeng took Lin Fan and the other four to Fan Ming's. Lin Fan, wait a moment, I'll report. Zhang Fipeng glanced at Lin Fan. Okay, Lin Fan nodded. Zhang Fipeng walked into the office in front of him, and Fan Ming's was sitting in the first seat. He hurriedly said, Brother Fan, I saw that the time was up, so I brought them here. They are waiting outside now. How did they perform today? Fan Ming's asked. After staying in the small conference room for a few hours, they were already very angry and wanted to leave our base, saying that we did not treat them as friends and made them wait for so long in vain. Zhang Fipeng said truthfully, I told them that you had something to do and could not see them until you were done, so I took them around the base, and they were not so angry. Are you sure they showed that they were very angry and wanted to leave at that time? Fan Ming's asked. Brother Fan, I am very sure of this. Zhang Fipeng patted his chest and assured. Fan Ming's nodded slightly and said, since they showed such emotions in the afternoon, it can be basically determined that they are not from Chen Xianlong's base? Yes, Brother Fan, through my contact with them, I can also be sure that they are not. Zhang Fipeng glanced at the door and said, Brother Fan, they are waiting outside now, do you want to let them in? Although he asked this, Zhang Fipeng actually didn't want to hear Fan Ming's words of rejection at all. After all, Lin Fan and his friends had been waiting for a whole day. If Fan Ming still refused to meet them, there was no doubt that he would be labeled as dishonest in the hearts of Lin Fan and his friends. At that time, even if Lin Fan and his friends chose to stay, their relationship with him would not be very good. Well, let them in. Fan Ming's finally nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Zhang Fipeng breathed a sigh of relief and said, okay, Brother Fan, I'll take them in right away. After the words fell, Zhang Fipeng turned and walked out the door, and came back with Lin Fan and his friends. Lin Fan, let me introduce you. This is our Brother Fan, the founder of our survivor base. It is because of Brother Fan's leadership that our survivor base can develop so well, Zhang Fipeng introduced with a smile on his face, and did not forget to flatter Fan Ming's. Hello, Brother Fan, Lin Fan greeted politely. While greeting, he immediately read Fan Ming's data with a ring. Species, human level, level 2 strength, 9 speed, 8 reaction, 9 power, none. Fan Ming's various data appeared clearly in Lin Fan's sight. After learning this information, Lin Fan had a rough judgment. Fan Ming's strength is basically comparable to Hujiaki. When Lin Fan looked at Fan Ming's eyes also swept back and forth over the four of them. Although Fan Ming's did not have a ring to read the data, he could make a corresponding judgment based on a person's actual strength. He could judge that Lin Fan and the other four were indeed the strongest. I have been busy with things this afternoon, and I have only finished it now. I am a little embarrassed to have kept you waiting for so long. Fan Ming's retracted his gaze and said calmly, sit down, don't stand, sit down and chat. Lin Fan, Zhang Xianjun and the other two sat down on the sofa next to them. Fan Ming's glanced at Zhang Fipeng and said, go and make us a few cups of tea. Zhang Fipeng did not dare to hesitate and turned to make tea. Then, Fan Ming's eyes fell on Lin Fan and the other three again, and said, I heard from Zhang Fipeng that the four of you are all very strong. He also took you to visit our survivor base before, right? Yes, he took us to visit before we came here, Lin Fan said with a smile. So what do you think of the situation of our survivor base? Fan Ming's asked. It's very strong, with a lot of rules and regulations. Everyone knows what to do and what not to do. If it was before the outbreak of the Doomsday, such a team would definitely only exist in a top-notch group company to achieve this level, Lin Fan said in a very appreciative tone. The situation he saw was naturally a little different from what he said, but now in front of Fan Ming's, it's always right to say something nice. Hearing Lin Fan's praise, Fan Ming smiled and said, I hope this survivor base can develop into the largest survivor base in the country, or even the world, so in these aspects, we are very strict with everyone and must do what we should do. With someone like you, Brother Fan, leading the way, I believe this survivor base will continue to grow and develop. Lin Fan agreed. Fan Mings felt very comfortable listening to this, and said, then I won't beat around the bush with you. I value talents and also pay attention to recruiting talents. The four of you are all capable people. If there is no other good place to go, why don't you stay in our survivor base and develop together? At this time, Zhang Fipeng also made tea and had someone bring it in from outside, and put it in front of Lin Fan and the other three. Lin Fan, I have never admired anyone in my life, but only Brother Fan makes me admire him from the bottom of my heart. As long as you get in touch with Brother Fan for a while, you will also find out how good Brother Fan is. If you follow Brother Fan, we will definitely be able to thrive in the Doomsday. Stay and develop together, Zhang Fipeng persuaded. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Xianjun and the other two and said, Brother Zhang, we've been drifting outside for so long, it's time to find a place to settle down and develop. We have all seen the conditions of Brother Fan's survivor base with our own eyes, and I think it is very suitable for us. What do you think? Zhang Xianjun could tell that Lin Fan was pretending to discuss something, so he did not answer Lin Fan's question immediately. Instead, he thought about it and then said, okay. I have no objection. We have no objection either. The other two teammates looked at each other and made their attitudes clear. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170 Make Up Your Mind. Lin Fan had already understood Fan Ming's character from Zhang Fipeng's mouth before. Facing a person like Fan Ming's, Lin Fan knew very well how to deal with him. Fan Ming's had already asked openly. If they still pretended to shirk, Fan Ming's would definitely be unhappy. Therefore, at this time, it would be a wise decision to agree directly. Brother Fan, the four of us will stay in your base and develop together with everyone. Lin Fan looked at Fan Ming's. Fan Ming's was obviously very satisfied with this answer. He nodded and said, okay, welcome to join. You are all evolvers and your strength is not weak. I will arrange suitable positions for you and will not bury your abilities. Thank you, Brother Fan. Lin Fan thanked him. He now knew the population information and evolver information of Fan Ming's base, but not the information about guns and ammunition. Fan Ming's arranged suitable positions for them. After contacting some specific people, he might be able to fully understand the information about guns and ammunition. As long as all these are in hand, it will be known to both ourselves and the enemy, and there will be no need to worry about anything at that time. It's getting late now. You should go and rest first. I'll tell you your positions tomorrow morning, Fan Ming said. Okay, after Lin Fan answered, Zhang Fipeng took them away and arranged a room for them to stay. This place is Jiangnan Normal University. There are many rooms, so there is no need to worry about not being able to stay. However, in order to get closer to Lin Fan and the other four, Zhang Fipeng arranged a place for Lin Fan and the other four to stay not far from his room. Lin Fan, I live in the room. Except when I'm out on duty, I'm basically in the base. If you have anything, you can come to me at any time, Zhang Fipeng said with a smile. No problem, we will be teammates in the same trench from now on. Lin Fan smiled slightly. Hearing this, Zhang Fipeng was happy. In his opinion, the relationship between him and Lin Fan was still good. Although the space was under the jurisdiction of Fan Ming's, the competition between individuals was not small at all. Only by performing well could you get more rewards. Many people organized small groups in private just to perform better, and Zhang Fipeng was no exception. Lin Fan and his four companions were so strong. If he could get together with them, he could almost see the scene where he would get more and more rewards in the future. Back in the room, Lin Fan simply washed up and then lay on the bed to think. The overall strength of Fan Ming's base was not bad. If the two sides went to war, he had to consider a very comprehensive plan. At least, he had to minimize the losses on his side. After thinking for a long time, Lin Fan did not come up with the best plan. The first problem he faced was that Fan Ming's strength was not simple. Even if he and Fan Ming had the opportunity to meet privately, he could not take Fan Ming down in a short time. This meant that the tactic of capturing the king first could not be carried out. If Fan Ming could not be taken down, then if the battle between the two sides started, given that the overall strength of Fan Ming's base was not weak, the losses would definitely not be small. How to minimize the losses? Lin Fan fell into deep thought. After another hour, a smile gradually appeared on his face. The overall strength of Fan Ming's base was very strong. If the two sides went to war, there would be no losses. In this case, if we want to minimize the losses, there is only one best way, that is, not to start a war. According to the current situation of Fan Ming's base, they are determined to take action, so the thing to think about is how to make them dare not act. Deterrence. Lin Fan's eyes flashed, and he murmured. Although the specific number of guns and ammunition in Fan Ming's base is still unclear, Lin Fan can be 100% sure that in terms of guns and ammunition, Fan Ming's base is absolutely incomparable to them. In this way, this advantage can be used to deter Fan Ming, so that Fan Ming will realize that once the two sides go to war, their own casualties will be even more terrible, and it is possible that the entire base will cease to exist. At that time, a deal can be made from this to gain some benefits. Anyway, after this matter is over, they will all move out of Jiangnan City. After they leave, the entire Jiangnan City will naturally fall into the control of Fan Ming and others. Use some benefits, without any casualties, in exchange for the control of the entire Jiangnan City. As long as Fan Ming is not a fool, he knows how to make the right choice. Thinking of this, Lin Fan quickly finalized a plan. The night passed quickly, and the next morning, Fan Ming met Lin Fan and his 4 companions again. As he said, he would arrange suitable positions for them. What surprised Lin Fan was that Fan Ming did not worry that they would take the opportunity to leave, and even arranged for them to perform tasks in the guard circle outside. In short, in the guard circle, Lin Fan and his 4 companions became leaders. Because the strength of Lin Fan and his 4 companions was stronger than that of Zhang Fipeng and his companions, Zhang Fipeng and his companions had no complaints about this arrangement. After watching outside for a whole morning, at lunchtime, Lin Fan and his 4 companions gathered together again. Lin Fan, do you have any specific plans? Zhang Xianzhen looked around and asked when he was sure that no one was around. Lin Fan was also very sure that no one was around, and said, we don't need to go to war with them. No war. Zhang Xianzhen was startled, and hurriedly said, looking at the other side's posture, it seems that they will not give up. Are we going to choose to escape? Of course not escape. Lin Fan smiled lightly. Then, he repeated what he had thought of last night. After hearing what Lin Fan said, Zhang Xianzhen and the other 2 finally reacted. This is a good idea. Zhang Xianzhen almost clapped his hands and said, in this way, we only need to intimidate the other party. After weighing the interests, the other party will definitely make a concession. At that time, we will leave with certain resources, and they will continue to occupy Jiangnan City. We will have nothing to do with each other in the future. Well, that's what I think. There is no need to conflict with them at this time. Although we will definitely win with so many guns and ammunition, we will also suffer considerable losses. Lin Fan's eyes narrowed slightly and said, let them continue to develop and grow in Jiangnan City. Sooner or later, we will regain control. By then, the entire province will be our territory. After being reborn, Lin Fan's goal has long changed. He is no longer limited to staying alive, but wants to do something big in the doomsday, to make his power stronger and stronger, and to make the territory he occupies wider and wider. At that time, if Fan Ming and others do not even have the power to resist, they can only surrender. Chapter 171, Trick Zhang Fipeng. Lin Fan's short words made Zhang Xianzhen and the other 2 feel excited. Because, from Lin Fan's words, they have heard Lin Fan's next plan. Control the entire province. In peacetime, what kind of position can achieve this? However, even in this doomsday world, not everyone can do it. The most important thing is that they all believe that Lin Fan will achieve this goal after he has it. It may not take too long for this to happen. Zhang Xianzhen took a deep breath, suppressed the fluctuating emotions in his heart, and then looked at Lin Fan and asked, "What should we do now?" "Go back directly." "We must go back, but we can't go back so blatantly. We have to go back when it's late at night, then gather the team, come closer, surround them, and catch them off guard." Lin Fan raised the corner of his mouth and said, "When they are surrounded by us, they will know what it means to catch a turtle in a jar. At that time, they will have no choice but to agree to our conditions." "Great, this is a great move," Zhang Xianjun's two teammates couldn't help but praise. Zhang Xianjun naturally nodded to Lin Fan's idea. They had a large number of guns and ammunition in their hands. When Fan Ming's and others were surrounded, they would be the weak ones. In this way, they would not be afraid that Fan Ming's would not show weakness. "Lin Fan, when are we going back?" Zhang Xianjun asked. "Tonight." Lin Fan glanced in the direction of Fan Ming's base and said, "This kind of thing should be done sooner rather than later, so that they don't have time to attack first. We have to get ahead of them. However, if we want to sneak out of the base at night, I'm afraid it won't be that easy." Zhang Xianjun frowned and said, "I asked Zhang Fipeng before, and I learned from him that there is almost a person standing every meter on the wall of Fan Ming's base. Brother Zhang, there is no problem with this. Don't you forget what our job is now." Lin Fan smiled faintly and said, "We have already obtained their recognition. Our job is to be responsible for the guard circle. The guard circle here does not only need to be guarded during the day, but also at night. If we come out to guard at night, can't we come out openly?" "Haha, yes, I forgot about this," Zhang Xianjun laughed. "Taking advantage of their positions, they don't have to sneak out of the base at all. They can just walk out openly, which saves a lot of trouble. Well, I'll go and negotiate with Zhang Fipeng. We may need him to help us put on a show later, so that it will be more reasonable for us to come out to guard at night," Lin Fan said. After that, he stood up and walked towards Zhang Fipeng. Although Zhang Xianjun and the other two didn't know what Lin Fan meant by asking Zhang Fipeng to help put on a show, they all believed in Lin Fan's prudence and would not ask any more questions. They just followed Lin Fan's pace. "Lin Fan, I just checked here. There was no movement except for some wandering zombies. We also solved the wandering zombies." Zhang Fipeng saw Lin Fan coming towards him and took the initiative to report the progress of the work without waiting for Lin Fan to speak. "In Fan Ming's base, the arrangement of positions will not be based on how long you have joined, but mainly on the strength of your strength." Zhang Fipeng himself admitted that his strength was not as good as Lin Fan, so Fan Ming's made Lin Fan Zhang Fipeng's boss. Zhang Fipeng naturally had to report the work situation truthfully. "Well, just clean it up." Lin Fan nodded, and then changed the subject, saying, "By the way, I seem to have heard someone say that there is a conflict between our base and another base. What is going on?" Hearing Lin Fan's question, Zhang Fipeng's eyes lit up. He wanted to have a good relationship with Lin Fan, and he was eager to have a topic to chat with Lin Fan, not to mention that the question Lin Fan asked was a well-known type, but because Lin Fan had just joined the base, he didn't know it. "It's like this," Zhang Fipeng told Lin Fan about the things between the two bases with a smile on his face. From how the conflict occurred, to the escalation of the conflict, to the stalemate and preparation for war between the two sides, every point was clearly stated. Lin Fan listened to these news again. After all, Chen Xianlong had already told him in detail, and it was nothing more than pretending to be confused in front of Zhang Fipeng. "So, the other base should be determined to go to war with our base?" Lin Fan continued to pretend to be confused and asked. "Yes, that's right," Zhang Fipeng nodded and said. "Anyway, Brother Fan and they all analyzed it this way, and they are gradually preparing for the war between the two sides. The other base is so ignorant that they didn't agree to such a small request from them. It's obvious that they are forcing us to take action," Lin Fan said angrily. "Yes. They are just looking for death," Zhang Fipeng agreed. "It's ridiculous that they think they have the strength to compete with us. When Brother Fan arranges the plan, we can wipe them out in one fell swoop, and then all their resources will belong to us, that's for sure." Lin Fan's face condensed slightly, and said, "However, even if we are sure of victory, we can't relax. We must always pay attention to the movements of the other party, especially the range of the guard circle. There must be no mistakes, and we must never give the other party the opportunity to sneak into our base to investigate. Don't worry about this, our people are guarding very seriously, unless the other party has wings and can fly in from the sky," Zhang Fipeng patted his chest and guaranteed. "I believe there will be no problem during the day, but what about at night? What about when it's late at night? Lin Fan asked. This, Zhang Fipeng touched the back of his head, looking embarrassed. From Zhang Fipeng's reaction, Lin Fan could tell that the guard circle was indeed weakened at night. I just said that there can't be any mistakes in our guard circle. Brother Fan gave us this job, so we have to do our best, Lin Fan said righteously. Starting from tonight, we will take turns to guard here. Those who take a break can just sleep in the car and don't have to go back to the base. We must make sure that everything is foolproof. Do you understand? Understood, Zhang Fipeng nodded seriously, and then said, Brother Fan. Should we tell him first? Otherwise, if we don't go back at night, I'm afraid it will be difficult to explain. So, this requires the two of us to reply together, so that Brother Fan can hand it over to us with peace of mind. Only when we do a good job can we get the reward, right? Lin Fan asked with a smile. Chapter 172 Plan unfolds. Hearing the word reward, Zhang Fipeng instantly became interested, staring at Lin Fan, and said, Okay. Let's go tell Brother Fan together, seize this opportunity to show off and strive to get a better reward. Hearing this, Lin Fan smiled faintly and said, Let's go. The two of us will go back now, and they will continue to stay here to guard. With Zhang Fipeng's help in acting, it will be very likely to get Fan Ming's permission. After all, Zhang Fipeng has been in the space for a long time, and Fan Ming still trusts Zhang Fipeng quite a lot. Brother Zhang, you guys guard this place, Zhang Fipeng and I will go back first and come back later, Lin Fan said to Zhang Xianjun. Okay, Zhang Xianjun and the other two nodded. The guard circle is not far from the base. Lin Fan and Zhang Fipeng quickly drove back to the base and found Fan Ming's. The two sang the same tune and expressed their thoughts just now. After listening, Fan Ming squinted his eyes and thought for a while, then said, During the night time, our guards have indeed weakened. Not only to guard against the people in Chen Xianlong's base, but also to guard against the zombies and other forces. We should also strengthen them. Since you are determined to strengthen the defense, how can I not support your idea? Just do as you said, increase the guards 24 hours a day, and don't relax at night. Take turns to rest in the guard circle. As for the food resources, I will arrange someone to deliver them to you. If only Lin Fan came to say this, Fan Ming's would indeed have some doubts. Even if he would eventually approve Lin Fan's plan, he would at least think about it for a long time. But with Zhang Fipeng, a loyal subordinate, he didn't have so many doubts. Instead, he felt that the suggestions put forward by Lin Fan and Zhang Fipeng were very reliable. He never thought that Zhang Fipeng would choose to stand on the same front with Lin Fan in private in order to get a better life in the base. Thank you, Brother Fan, Lin Fan and Zhang Fipeng said with a smile. With Fan Ming's support, they didn't waste too much time, turned around and walked out of the room, left the base, and drove back to the guard post. Go and explain to the others, tell them that they will all be on a shift system, one shift for the day shift and one shift for the night shift. And then count the people on the day shift and the night shift, and start the implementation from today, Lin Fan instructed Zhang Fipeng. Okay, I'll go right away, Zhang Fipeng smiled and nodded, and went to count with enthusiasm. While Zhang Fipeng was counting, Lin Fan came to Zhang Xianjun and the other two and said, Brother Zhang, tonight, we will go back and make all the arrangements, then when will we surround them? Zhang Xianjun asked. Take action immediately after the arrangements are made, Lin Fan said. So fast, Zhang Xianjun was startled. The sooner the better, we can't give them any time to prepare, we have to catch them off guard, Lin Fan smiled. I just don't know if we can arrange it in such a short time, Zhang Xianjun's eyes flashed with doubt. No problem, Lin Fan smiled faintly, Brother Chen manages the team very well. In addition, most people have gathered in the base during this period, so it will take no more than an hour for them to integrate. The distance between the two bases is not far. Once the team is integrated, they can quickly surround it. Lin Fan took all these factors into consideration. After a while, Zhang Fipeng came to Lin Fan and gave him the list of statistics. Lin Fan took a quick look and said, For now, we will arrange the shifts according to the statistics, and make adjustments based on the situation later. He was not familiar with the names of these people. Besides, they were going to start the operation tonight, and he really didn't care who was on the day shift and who was on the night shift. Well, when I came here with the list just now, I had already asked them to hand over their shifts. Now the people who had been guarding before have changed to rest, Zhang Fipeng said. Then you should go and rest too. You didn't rest during the day today. The four of us are all going to rest, Lin Fan said with a smile. Zhang Fipeng nodded. He was really tired after a busy day. After saying hello to Zhang Xianjun and the other two, he walked towards the car where he was resting and got into the car to sleep. After seeing Zhang Fipeng go to sleep, Lin Fan retracted his gaze, glanced at Zhang Xianjun and the other two, and said, Let's go back to the car first." Although it was already late, the people who had just finished their shift and were resting were not asleep, and the people who had just started their shift to guard were in good spirits. They were not suitable to leave now and needed to wait for a while. 2 hours passed. In a car, Lin Fan looked outside and said, "It's almost done. Get ready and let's leave here, okay?" Zhang Xianjun and the other two immediately responded in a low voice. They had not closed their eyes since they entered the car, and had been waiting for Lin Fan's instructions. "After we get off the car, just go around here on the left," Lin Fan pointed. At this point, the people who were on duty were actually quite sleepy. After all, there were no mobile phones for them to play with. It was normal for them to get bored and sleepy just by guarding like this. The most important thing was that Lin Fan had deliberately parked the resting vehicle at this location. As a result, the guard force around this location was relatively weak. Everyone felt that Lin Fan and his four companions were the least guarded place. Therefore, as long as they did not make any big noise, it was impossible to attract other people's attention. Carefully opening the car door, Lin Fan and his four companions got out of the car and followed the route he had specified before. After walking a distance, Lin Fan frowned, waved his hand, and stopped. Seeing this, Zhang Xianjun and his three companions also stopped. They did not ask a question, but looked in the direction of Lin Fan's finger. In their sight, a figure was walking towards them. Did we get discovered? Zhang Xianjun had a flash of doubt in his mind. However, his doubts were quickly dispelled. The man did not discover them, but he had to pee, so he just walked in this direction for a while before stopping to pee. After peeing, he went back to the car to sleep. Fortunately, there is no moonlight tonight, otherwise, they might be discovered in the situation just now. Lin Fan's frown relaxed, and he waved his hand again. The four of them continued to move forward. There were no more accidents. It took about 5 minutes for the four of them to completely escape the range of the guard circle, and they didn't have to worry about being discovered by Zhang Fipeng and others. "Okay. Let's go find a car ahead and drive back," Lin Fan said with a smile. There were many cars on the road ahead, and the four of them got into a car and quickly returned to the base. Chapter 173 Gathering completed. Driving on the highway, Lin Fan and his companions quickly entered the base. However, at this moment, three figures appeared on the highway and stopped them. "It seems that they are not from our base." Zhang Xianjun sat in the co-pilot and took a look at the three people. He had no impression at all and said, "Could it be that Fan Ming's arranged them here?" "It should be." Lin Fan nodded and said, "Just take a look at the situation first, don't be in a hurry to show any emotions." After the voice fell, Lin Fan gradually slowed down the car, drove over and stopped in front of the three people. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" One of them looked at Lin Fan back and forth and asked. From the tone of the other party's questioning and arrogant attitude, Lin Fan was almost 100% sure that the other party was from Fan Ming's base. Because, the people in their base, under the management of Chen Xianlong, have done very well, and it is impossible for them to behave like this. "Brother Fan asked us to check the situation here and see if there is anything we need to pay attention to. After investigating and reporting back, we will prepare to take action here," Lin Fan said with a smile. "So it was Brother Fan who asked you to come?" The three of them were all surprised. "Yes, Brother Fan specifically asked us to come and see you tonight." Lin Fan smiled slightly and said, "There are some drinks in the trunk, just enough for you. I'll give them to you." As he said that, Lin Fan opened the door and got out of the car. Zhang Xianjun and the other two naturally knew that there were no drinks prepared in the car, but they were not sure what Lin Fan was going to do after getting out of the car. Before they understood Lin Fan's actions, they chose to stay in the car and wait and see. When the other party heard that there were drinks brought to them, they were obviously much happier. The leader hurriedly thanked him. "Thank you very much. When we were guarding here, we didn't eat or drink well, haha, then this will be a good improvement." Lin Fan grinned, but did not walk towards the trunk, but walked in front of the man. The man was slightly stunned. From Lin Fan's eyes, he seemed to notice something wrong and was about to step back. However, how could his speed be faster than Lin Fan? Before he could move his feet back a little, Lin Fan's fist hit him in the face. He cried out in pain, and Lin Fan raised his foot and kicked him hard in the stomach, causing his whole body to fly backwards. The moment he landed on the ground, he fainted. The other two looked at Lin Fan in amazement, as if they had never expected that Lin Fan would attack them. Lin Fan smiled again, and without saying anything nonsense to them, he rushed in front of the two of them, punching them at an extremely fast speed, and before they could react, he punched them hard on the head. Bang! Bang! As two dull sounds spread, the two of them only felt stars flashing, and then their eyes went black, and they also fainted on the ground. After knocking down the three of them, Lin Fan clapped his hands lightly, returned to the car, and said, "Fan Mings is quite cautious in doing things. He not only set up a guard circle at their base, but also set up one at our base. Yes, fortunately before we came out, you told Chen Xianlong and the others not to go out unless necessary, otherwise, those who went out would be killed," Zhang Xianjun said. "I was taking precautions beforehand, but I didn't expect it would have such a good effect." Lin Fan restarted the car and drove on. Soon they returned to the gate of the base. The guard at the gate knew them, so he quickly opened the gate and let them in. Lin Fan knew where Chen Xianlong lived, so he drove straight to the gate and parked at the gate. Getting out of the car, Lin Fan walked over and knocked on the door, saying, "Brother Chen." Chen Xianlong, who was sleeping, woke up when he heard Lin Fan's shout, got up, and opened the door. "Lin Fan, you're back." Chen Xianlong couldn't help but be surprised when he saw Lin Fan and the other four in front of him. "Well, let's make it short, and hurry up," Lin Fan said. "Okay, go ahead," Chen Xianlong nodded, looking very serious. He knew very well that Lin Fan must have something important to tell him when he came back in the middle of the night. Lin Fan explained the situation as quickly as possible and in the shortest possible words. After listening to Lin Fan's plan, Chen Xianlong applauded Lin Fan and said, "I will gather everyone right away. It will take at most an hour for everyone to gather." Chen Xianlong was very efficient. Just as Lin Fan had guessed, the people in this base had been trained in an orderly manner under Chen Xianlong's management. Whether doing other things or gathering together, they could complete it in the shortest time. In just 40 minutes, everyone gathered in the large playground with their weapons in hand. Chen Xianlong glanced at them, then quickly walked to Lin Fan and reported, "In our base, except for those who stayed behind and those who don't have much combat power, all of them are gathered here." "Well done," Lin Fan praised, then walked to the front of the crowd and said loudly, "Everyone, I ask you to gather together in the middle of the night, not for anything else, but to deal with Fan Ming's side. I believe you all know about the conflict between us and Fan Ming's base. As things have developed to this day, the two sides have reached the point where they are incompatible. I have been to Fan Ming's base to investigate for a day, and I have a lot of information about their base." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that Lin Fan had already gone to Fan Ming's base to find out. They didn't know much about Fan Ming's base for so many days. They didn't doubt the authenticity of Lin Fan's words. After all, everyone knew that Lin Fan was the real leader of this survivor base, and there was no need to lie to deceive them. "Now I call you all together for only one purpose, that is to go out and surround Fan Ming's base, trap them all inside, and make them accept the conditions we put forward and give us the resources," Lin Fan said in a sonorous voice. "Let them know that we are not easy to bully." This statement also made everyone's blood boil. During this period of time, they have been suppressed by Fan Ming's base, which has accumulated a lot of negative emotions in their hearts, but due to the strong strength of the other party, they can only bear it with humiliation. Now that Lin Fan is leading them to deal with Fan Ming's base, their passion is unprecedentedly high, and they wish they could grow wings and fly to their destination in an instant. A batch of guns and ammunition will be distributed to you soon, but remember one thing. No one is allowed to shoot at will without my permission, understand? Lin Fan asked. Understood, everyone answered in unison. Chapter 174 You are undercover. The purpose of this time is to let Fan Ming's base know the gap in comprehensive strength between the two sides, and let Fan Ming's realize that such a gap is enough to make them suffer great losses. This goal must be achieved before conditions can be proposed to give Fan Ming's a way out. In this way, Fan Ming's base will provide enough resources, and Lin Fan can leave Jiangnan City with the resources. Therefore, unless it is absolutely necessary, Lin Fan does not want the two sides to really go to war, just to shock Fan Ming's base. Distribute weapons. After everyone answered, Lin Fan waved his hand and ordered, those who have not been distributed, don't have any dissatisfaction. Our goal is to win this battle without spending a bullet, not to fight with the other side to the end. Yes, everyone answered again. Then, Chen Xianlong, Murengzu and others began to distribute guns and ammunition. After distributing them, Lin Fan's eyes condensed and said, get in the car, don't worry about anything, just go and surround Fan Ming's base. Everyone quickly got into the car. Lin Fan drove the RV in front, and the vehicles behind immediately followed. The mighty convoy drove out of the base and headed straight for Fan Ming's base. The people who Fan Ming's arranged to guard here woke up after hearing the noise. Looking at the convoy in front of them, they were stunned in place, as if they had not expected such a scene. Are they going to escape? They are definitely going to escape. We can't stop them. We have to go back and inform Brother Fan. Yes. Get in the car. The first reaction of the guards was not that Lin Fan and others were going to attack their base, but that Lin Fan and others were going to escape. After all, in their eyes, Lin Fan and others chose to go out in the middle of the night, obviously fearing their strength and wanting to escape overnight to avoid too much damage to both sides. Although their guess was wrong, it was not a reason for them to leave here normally. After Chen Xianlong found out that they were going to take action, he immediately called a few cars to drive over, intercepted them, and captured them as quickly as possible. They did not take their lives, but took them into the car and took them to Fan Ming's base together. Soon, the car drove to the area guarded by Zhang Fipeng and others. Brother Peng. There are a lot of cars coming towards us, someone shouted. What? Zhang Fipeng woke up instantly in the car. Before he could react, the man said again, it seems to be people from Chen Xianlong base. People from Chen Xianlong base? How dare they come here? Are they looking for death? Zhang Fipeng felt unbelievable and thought it was too ridiculous. Brother Peng, those are really the cars from their base, the man emphasized. Zhang Fipeng also got out of the car at this time, looking forward, and saw a car rushing over quickly. Damn. It's true. After seeing those vehicles clearly, Zhang Fipeng couldn't help but curse. He never thought that people from Chen Xianlong base would take the initiative to come to their side. Taking a deep breath, he hurriedly said, go and notify Lin Fan, Brother Peng. Lin Fan and the other four are not on the car, the man replied. When he found a vehicle approaching just now, the first person he went to notify was Lin Fan. After all, Lin Fan was stronger than Zhang Fipeng, and now Lin Fan was the leader of their guard circle. However, when he went to find Lin Fan, he did not find Lin Fan and the other four in the car, so he hurried over to find Zhang Fipeng. Not here. Zhang Fipeng's expression changed, and he was even more surprised by this answer. But he did not think about it that way, and guessed, will they go back to the base? Brother Peng, I don't know about this. What should we do now? Go back and notify Brother Fan immediately. Zhang Fipeng's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he said, since Chen Xianlong and the others are willing to come up and seek death, then let them do it and kill them without leaving a single piece of armor. After saying that, Zhang Fipeng and others prepared to retreat back to the car. Boom! The roar of the engine spread harshly. Without waiting for Zhang Fipeng and others to start the car, a motorhome rushed up at a speed as fast as lightning. In less than 10 seconds, it had already driven in front of the car where Zhang Fipeng was sitting. Swish! Lin Fan stepped on the brakes, and the RV completed a 180-degree drift and stopped steadily. Zhang Fipeng and others were stunned. First, they didn't expect the RV to be so fast, and second, they didn't expect the RV to be transformed into such a shape. Next, what surprised them even more was that the person who walked out of the RV was actually Lin Fan. You? Zhang Fipeng opened his mouth wide and stared at Lin Fan in amazement. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Are you surprised? Lin Fan asked with a faint smile. Are you an undercover? Zhang Fipeng took a deep breath and finally recovered from the shock. He said 4 words with difficulty. I guess so. Lin Fan nodded. I actually believed you before. Seeing Lin Fan nod and admit it, Zhang Fipeng clenched his fists and his body couldn't help shaking. He would never have thought that Lin Fan was an undercover agent from the beginning and joined their base purely to obtain information about their base. That may be because I am a good actor. I not only deceived you, but also deceived Fan Ming's. Look, Fan Ming's arranged me to a higher position than you, didn't he? Lin Fan said with a faint smile. Zhang Fipeng was so angry that his face turned purple. He personally brought Lin Fan back to introduce him to Fan Ming's. If Fan Ming's knew Lin Fan's true identity, his end would definitely be very miserable. Lin Fan took a step forward and said, "Now you don't have any need to resist. If you surrender, you can still have a way out. If you dare to resist, you will only die, Lin Fan. Don't be arrogant. With all your people, you can't be the opponent of our base," Zhang Fipeng shouted. Bang! Zhang Xianjun moved and rushed to Zhang Fipeng quickly. He punched and hit Zhang Fipeng hard on the chest. Cough cough, Zhang Fipeng's face changed drastically, and he coughed while holding his chest. Zhang Xianjun said coldly, "You are not qualified to say these words to us now." Zhang Fipeng only then truly experienced how strong Zhang Xianjun was. It was also at this time that he realized that when Zhang Xianjun dealt with the zombies before, he still had a lot of reservations in his strength. "Take them all to the car." Lin Fan did not intend to delay any longer, and gave a faint order. "Yes," Chen Xianlong nodded, and then waved to the people behind him. Seeing this, those people acted quickly, and in a few seconds, they tied up the hands of Zhang Fipeng and others, making them unable to break free. Chen Xianlong actually listened to Lin Fan's words. Seeing this scene, Zhang Fipeng was shocked to the extreme. Chapter 175, Surrounded. According to the information they received, the base had always been managed by Chen Xianlong, which meant that Chen Xianlong was the leader of the base, and his status was equal to that of Fan Ming's. But at this time, judging from Chen Xianlong's reaction, it seemed that Lin Fan was the real boss, and even Chen Xianlong had to obey Lin Fan's orders and arrangements. Such a scene had a great impact on Zhang Fipeng. Although he wanted to ask clearly, Zhang Fipeng also knew that he had no right to speak now, and could only be escorted to the car honestly. Next, according to what I said before, act separately and surround the entire Jiangnan Normal University. No matter who wants to come out, kill them without mercy, Lin Fan ordered. Yes, everyone answered. Chen Xianlong, Zhang Xianjun and others quickly appeared at their posts. Lin Fan had already made clear arrangements for each encircled area, and they were responsible for leading them. Seeing that everyone was ready, Lin Fan did not delay, waved his hand, returned to the RV, and drove towards Fan Ming's base. The rest of the people also carried out their actions in an orderly manner. No one would fail at such a critical moment. This bastard, at this moment, Zhang Fipeng was completely certain that Lin Fan was the real leader of this huge team, and Chen Xianlong was just a capable subordinate of Lin Fan. On the one hand, he cursed Lin Fan in his heart, and on the other hand, he felt remorseful. If he hadn't seen the strength of Lin Fan and the other four and wanted to win over Lin Fan and the other four, the current situation would not have occurred. All of this was due to his greed for profit. He could imagine that even if Lin Fan and the others didn't kill him, Fan Ming's would never let him go. On the wall of the base, the people standing on it to guard, heard the roar of the car, and thought that the people in the guard circle outside had returned. But soon they realized the seriousness of the problem, because the roar of the car was very loud, and it was not just one or two cars, but many cars surrounded them. Something is wrong. Quickly notify Brother Fan and the others, one person shouted. Not long after the shouting, they saw cars coming one after another, surrounding their base tightly. Fan Ming's was still sleeping in the room, when suddenly, a hurried shout came from outside. Brother Fan! Brother Fan! A man hurried over, but was stopped by the gatekeeper. What's the matter so late? The gatekeeper asked. Our base is surrounded. Surrounded? The gatekeeper was slightly startled. Zombies are surrounding us, not zombies, but people. This answer made the gatekeeper's face change. Although he was just the person guarding the door for Fan Ming's, his strength was not simple, and he had always been Fan Ming's trusted subordinate. He knew that the person who came to report in front of him could not even distinguish between people and zombies. Thinking of this, he quickly reached out and knocked on the door. Fan Ming's, who was sleeping, woke up and asked through the door, "What's the matter, Brother Fan? Something happened. Our base is now surrounded by others," the gatekeeper replied. About half a minute later, Fan Ming's put on his clothes and pants, opened the door, and asked seriously, "What's going on, Brother Fan?" A lot of cars suddenly came outside and surrounded our base, the person who came to report said hurriedly. "Who are they?" Fan Ming's frowned. "It's not clear yet. I saw the base was surrounded and immediately came to inform you," the man shook his head. "Let's go. Let's take a look." A hint of cruelty flashed across Fan Ming's eyes. He waved his hand and walked towards the city gate first. The gatekeeper and the person who reported looked at each other and followed Fan Ming's without hesitation. The three of them quickly came to the top of the city gate and looked out. Sure enough, they saw a car parked outside the base. Brother Fan. Look at that person, it seems to be Chen Xianlong. The gatekeeper was sharp-eyed and saw Chen Xianlong coming out of the car at a glance. Fan Ming's looked in the direction of the gatekeeper's finger and saw Chen Xianlong's figure. Chen Xianlong, you are really surprising. Fan Ming's eyes were filled with more and more viciousness, and he said in a gloomy tone, I didn't go to find you, but I didn't expect you to come to find me. What's the matter? Do you think you can deal with us by surrounding me? Fan Ming's was very confident in the strength of his base. Even though they were surrounded now, he didn't think they were in a weak position. Fan Ming's, don't be arrogant. We didn't go to war with you before, so don't think we are afraid of you, Chen Xianlong sneered. Oh? Not afraid? What's the reason? Fan Ming's also had a sneer on his face. We are waiting for our boss to come back. Chen Xianlong looked at the RV and said, now that our boss is back, we will naturally not give you any chance to be arrogant. Your boss? Fan Ming's expression changed. Just as many thoughts were turning over in his mind, Lin Fan walked down from the RV. Lin Fan, Fan Ming's was shocked. It's only been a few hours since we last met, there's no need to be so shocked, right? Lin Fan smiled at Fan Ming's. Fan Ming's suddenly felt furious. His IQ was not low, and he now understood everything thoroughly. It turned out that all this was a conspiracy. Good, very good, you are a good actor, even I was fooled by you. Fan Ming's took a deep breath, quickly calmed down his emotions, and said, since you are all here, then Zhang Fipeng and the others have been dealt with by them, right? Haha, they haven't been dealt with yet. Lin Fan smiled faintly, and then glanced at Chen Xianlong. Chen Xianlong naturally understood what Lin Fan meant. He stretched out his hand and waved the members who were responsible for guarding Zhang Fipeng and his group. After receiving the instructions, he immediately escorted Zhang Fipeng and the others off the car. Brother Fan. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I was fooled by them. Zhang Fipeng admitted his mistake loudly when he saw Fan Ming's. Fan Ming's just glanced at Zhang Fipeng faintly, without saying a word to him. Then, he looked at Lin Fan again and said, then I'm very curious, why did you want to sneak into my base, but you only stayed there for less than a day? Could it be that in such a short time, you learned all kinds of information about my base? Of course I learned it. If I didn't, then what's happening now wouldn't have happened. Lin Fan looked at Fan Ming's and said, there's no need to say any nonsense. I'll give you two choices. First, take out half of the resources in your base. Second, today will be your death anniversary next year. I think you should know which one to choose. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.